Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Kimberly Schmidt, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, JMels24, Unamento, M, Iron26, Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Bogey, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Mac 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hello my friends, it's good to be back. I have been considering to start making videos again, but I only make a video when I have something important to say, or when I try to be funny. The best videos are those where I combine those two things, but right, I am not going to be funny today, so do not close the video. I think I have something important to say. You see, there is something that has been bothering me for a long time already. I'm sure you have seen all those channels and videos talking about the fifth dimension. The frequencies are changing and we are shifting into the fifth dimension, which will be a golden age where everything is perfect. It has been going on for years. I don't know what kind of frequencies they are talking about, but they are changing all the time and we are getting so close all the time. You know, 5 years ago we were almost there, it was going to happen any moment. Just be patient, don't give up hope, we will get there. How much longer do we have to wait? Well, no one knows. We need to stop this bullshit. Ask them to explain the fifth dimension. No one can explain it. You will get 20 different answers. Because there is no fifth dimension and there never will be. It's made up nonsense to mess with your mind. Probably invented by some government and pushed through some paid shills. Just like the whole Q thing and all those believers from QAnon. Why do you think all those hints and predictions are so mysterious? That's how you can mess with the people, make them confused, give them false hope, and every now and then maybe something will come true, depending on how you interpret the message. And then you get all the followers and believers shouting, "You see, Q is the real deal." Use your fucking brain, this has been going on for years, nothing has changed. It's the governments that are controlling this world and are controlling you, and they do this with bullshit like this. You know, you only need to make a few videos and there will be hundreds or even thousands of people repeating it on the internet, because they don't use their brains, they just believe things and repeat. The governments know, as long as you keep believing in a savior that will come and save us all, you will stay docile and submissive and keep waiting. Just wait, don't do anything, you will be saved. Well, you can keep waiting for the rest of your life while the government keeps raping you, stealing your money and forcing all kinds of new laws onto you. I can promise you, nothing will change and there will be no savior. There will be no frequency changing, there will be no white hats hacking the government or whatever and saving you. I agree, it can be entertaining to watch some of those videos, but it's a waste of time. The only way we can change things is by changing ourselves. Every action you take changes this world, and every word you speak changes this world. We can change this world if we change ourselves. Do not underestimate the power you have. Do not hate the people who think different. Do not hate the people if you disagree with them. Do not hate people when they treated you bad. Instead of revenge and hate, send them love. I know this is very hard to do and I'm not perfect. I also made many mistakes and hated many people. But trust me, your hate gets you nowhere and will not change anything. It will probably make things worse. Forgiveness might not change the other person, but it will change yourself and make you a lot stronger. We all want a better world and I think this is the only way we can get there. Satan rules this world and there is only one thing that can destroy him, and that's love. So yeah, this was a stupid video that needs a lot more jokes and funny things. I was reading the chat in some 5th dimension frequency change livestream and I'm tired of all this bullshit. That's why I decided to make this video. Someone needs to say this. We need to expose this crap for what it is and educate all those believers. So next time you see some 5th dimension promises, link them this video so I get millions of views and I can pay my electricity. Anyway, it was great to be here again. I will try to make some more funny videos soon. I would love to continue the space news series, so if you have good space news, let me know in the comments. I hope to see you again soon. Take care, bye bye.
Who was that?
Geo shifter. What's up?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, yeah. I just wanted to check. I was having trouble with my mic yesterday and a few days before, and I was just trying to get into... sorry to just go off the subject. I just wanted to talk about the poetry for a second, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're aware. 2 of your mods, Righteous Force and a Bee with a Buzz, contacted me over a week ago now. They said that they was putting some new bits and pieces on the Discord. You know, food and drink, music, games, flat Earth videos, and they put it to me that it was suggested that they put a slot in for me for the poetry that I've read and do read on the show. So I thought that was very nice. So I'd just like to thank everybody for bearing me in mind for that. So I do appreciate that. So yeah, I agreed to do it. So
I was dead against it.
I've already posted. Sorry, Nathan.
Oh, nothing. I mean, it's fair enough. You know, thank them and all that. I was dead against it. I said you shouldn't be given such a privilege. But you know, what do I know?
Yeah. So I have posted a poem on there. I've started with the original poem, "The Globe is Flat." So I'm just posting a poem, and I'm just briefly putting some points on there what inspired me to write the poem, with some images and also me reciting the poem. You did do a short video of that first poem, so I've put that on there. So it's got all that attached to that poem, so you can look at the reason why and have a listen and read it yourself. So I'm going to be posting one a month, I've suggested. So I don't know if Righteous or one of the mods can maybe record me doing that. They possibly can. But I was just going to say, is it? I mean, I know I've read a number of the poems 2 or 3 times on the show, and I also wanted to make sure that that doesn't become. I mean, are you guys okay with that if I jump in now and again with a poem that you've heard before?
I don't know, man. You've changed. Fame's changed you. You used to be so humble.
I know. It's gone to my head, I know.
You should hear yourself. If I can get my mods and administrators to come and record me. Yeah, I'm sure they're at your beck and call. It's just a disgrace, really. People change so quickly.
Well, I mean, if they can't do it, what I was getting to, Nathan, is if I read another poem out, I can timestamp it, and they could probably just chop it and put it in as I do the poems. So
yes, in seriousness, no
just
problem.
wanted to make sure you didn't have a problem with that.
No problem at all. Just give me a heads up, and I'll make sure I clear the airwaves, and then there's an uninterrupted recording of it. No problem at all.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Just wanted to get that off my chest.
Do you want to do one now?
Tell you what I will do for you. This is I will do one, but I'm gonna read one if this is okay, and it's not my poem. But it's a little bit. I'm just trying to find it as I'm speaking, so just bear with me. It's a little bit of tongue in cheek in this one. And the funny thing is, I found this poem. I had this poem years ago. I used to save poems either in books or on software. Bloody. And I found this, and before I was into the flat Earth, or flat Earth found me, and I found it recently. Again, I'd forgot all about it, and I found it, and it just made me laugh. If you listen to it, you'll understand why. It did remind me a little bit of you as well, Nathan, with the your software and computer things that you get into. Would you like me to read it for you?
I'd love that. That'd be brilliant.
Okay. It's called Dust Mite Science. Here we go. In the year 2006, there is a strange phenomena which has occurred, and humans are not yet aware that this phenomena is taking place. It seems as though some entirely unique and as for yet undiscovered characteristics of the electrical impulses running through certain ordinary home computer systems has interacted with the microscopic brains of certain types of dust mites living inside of these computer systems. The dust mites, over the course of several generations, spanning several years, have actually become self-aware and highly intelligent, almost as intelligent as humans. I say almost, only because of a strange intellectual phenomena that is currently taking place among the dust mite population. It seems as though some of the dust mites, due to their observations of what they consider to be an unlikely amount of what seems to be highly specified order extant within their surroundings, have begun to suspect that maybe, just maybe, there might be a chance that the computer inside which they are living, sealed inside, can't get out of, may have been designed by some other intelligent entity. Of course, the academic elite within the dust mite population only laugh at this notion. They laugh at the quaintness of the other dust mites' silly notions, because, of course, they know that there is an entirely naturalistic explanation for how the computer came to be. They make fun of the ignorant dust mites who hold the possibilities of such fairy tales, because dust mite science tells them that the idea that a designer may have actually designed the computer is not a testable hypothesis. Damn, them dust mites is smart. There you go.
That was epic. Very appropriate too.
It's great, isn't it? Oh, I just loved it, and I had that years ago. Obviously, before the flat Earth and gas has to be contained in the contained system. And I just read it about the dust mites, and I thought it was absolutely epic.
Yeah, and there's a certain level of arrogance that correlates to us in trying to comparatively be like the dust mite, figuring out where the confines of the glass chamber ends and who created the glass chamber. I would suspect that's beyond the intellectual prowess of a dust mite. And likewise, it is possibly beyond our intellectual prowess to figure out what the hell we're in.
You know,
yeah, but we let the elite tell us. We let the elite decide what we know and what to believe, and we shouldn't believe in fairy tales because the elite population of the dust mites know.
I think it's funny you bring up the container. I don't really believe in a container. What do you think of the sun being the container?
The container of what? Sorry.
The sun, in a way, serving as the containment. Like I don't have any evidence that anything gets past the sun. Right? There's a helium layer. Everything goes up, nothing goes down, but nothing gets past the sun, which seems to create like almost like a barrier or like a space where these gases can't go beyond.
What about night?
And
That's the problem, isn't it? We don't know what the containment is. We just know there is containment to contain the gas pressure that we breathe.
Good morning.
Morning.
or
Second day of creation in Genesis, the firmament separated the waters from below and above. And on the fourth day of the story of the creation in Genesis, God made the sun, moon, and stars and put it inside the container called the firmament. That's the biblical record.
Somebody else actually approached me with that same argument when I made my statement. They made the same argument. I didn't really see a contradiction with the biblical and with what I had just proposed, as in the firmament being the medium that we're in, right, being hammered down by something, right? The firmament spread out like air, like gas, and then the
No. It started with water, then land appeared out of the water, then firmament took some of that water and was above the firmament. So firmament is dense enough that water could be above it in the biblical record, and below it, meaning inside of it, there was also the seas and things like that. And then it wasn't until the fourth day of creation that the sun, the moon, and stars were created and put inside the firmament. Now, if it was outside the firmament, it'd be with the waters above, but it didn't say that. It says inside. So the firmament definitely is a container of some kind, a divider.
Oh, just like water, so it's but the point that not the point, but what I take from it is that the firmament is one consistent gradient. There's no gradients in between going from high to low, just one consistent.
Where do you get that? I don't even know what it is. I just know how it's described.
Yeah, just how it's described. It's just described as one consistent medium.
No, it's not.
No, I wouldn't even know how thick it is. I want to know if the stars are inside or inside, like the firmament is thick enough to where the stars are implanted inside of it, and then the sun and the wandering stars which move are in a separate look. I don't know any of that. I'll just know by observation that obviously you have the sun, the moon, and the wandering stars that have different motions, but the rest of the stars are moving with the firmament, it would seem like. Other than that, I don't know the makeup of it, the what it's made out of, or any of that. All I know is gas pressure is needed, and you can't get gas pressure without a container, and the biblical record pretty much solves that problem.
If you were to give me a really quick answer on why do we have gradients, what would the answer be?
Gradients? Well, I would say. Well, I would say based on my knowledge so far, which isn't complete, and I'm not an expert on it, is if you look at a what do you call those big jars where they put dirt and plants and those things can be sealed And I've read some stories on those where they were sealed for 5 years. And again, once it's sealed, nothing gets in except the sunlight. Okay. And then when the sunlight's not there, it's dark, of course. And so 24/7 of this for 5 years, they realize it rains in there. They realize that when the temperatures change, things happen above and inside of it. So I would say just temperatures and just the makeup of the system. The system is like our system with the ocean, and then it evaporates only because of the sun. I mean, unless someone has another reason, then that becomes clouds, and then it rains. And so you're a self-contained system with cycles. And so temperature is a key part of it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, well, that was my correlation. Even with the terrarium, people were insisting that there are gradients within the terrarium, but then I found out the way they manipulate. Now, I might be wrong, right? But I was reading that the way they manipulate the gradients is just by putting a heat source next to it in a certain place. So they'll just take a light bulb and they'll place it at the top of the tank or the bottom, whatever they want for their animal, their lizard, or their plant life to grow inside this terrarium. They'll change the gradient just by moving what we would say is the sun, but then moving to the light source. Yeah.
Right. But just think what you just said. Now, we're that terrarium in the way you just described, but the sun is inside. It's not a light source on the outside that someone puts. And the sun is moving. And when it's over you, it's hot. And when it's on the other side, as Nathan said, it's nighttime. And when I say other side, I mean far away from you. I don't mean like under you.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to like my original point is that I don't see a need for a physical container. We have a sun that pulls, I guess, water from the
you're
surface
missing
that creates the gradients.
You're missing the point. If the sun is inside the container, the sun is inside the container, but you want to say, I don't need a container.
Well,
yeah, I don't need a container.
Am I missing something? Because I know we can't say the sun is inside of the container.
Why
Yeah,
can't
we
we
can.
say that? I mean, you can, but you have to prove it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, some people would say it's outside the container because the Antarctic light, wrapping around. Yeah,
but I can't do that.
Yeah, we can't prove it. We don't know what the sun is, right? But in terms of, you said, I don't see why we'd need containment. It's an antecedent-consequent relationship. You can't have gas pressure without a container. The sun isn't going to achieve that because it's not a container. I mean, it might be, but I don't know what the sun is, so I'm not going to say that light in the sky that goes over me is containing the gas, because that's not how I understand gas pressure is achieved.
He said he doesn't see the need of a physical container because of the sun.
You need a container for heat.
Well, gases need to press on something physically, so you do need a physical container, unfortunately. That is the way it is.
That's correct.
And I preface, just to round it out. See, here, let me just say this. I said everything, and I based it on what Genesis, the record of creation, said. I didn't base it on any experiments or anything. Now, if I ask you a question, do you believe there's a creator? I already know what Nathan's going to say, but I'll let him say it. Nathan, why do you know there's a creator?
It's the only answer to the ontological primitives. There can't not be a creator, because the only other alternative is that nature poofed itself into existence, which is a violation of the natural laws I understand to be true. Therefore, there is only one alternative. There was and is a creator.
Right. So the first law of thermodynamics is your source for that, correct?
Yeah. The creation story in the alternative violates the first law of thermodynamics. There's no thermodynamics violation if you have a creator external to the thing being created. That doesn't violate the first law of thermodynamics. So that's the only option. There is a creator.
Right. Now, see, you needed that to know there was a creator. Now that I just saw things created, the things that were made, and I knew there was a creator, because these things that are made must be made by someone else who is much more smarter than I am. And as a kid, I knew it. And that's why in Romans, God says mankind is without excuse, because they know he exists by the things that are created. So there's two ways of knowing. There's one way of knowing, the way Nathan said, with natural law, just like, wow, there has to be. And it's proof in that sense of proof. Then there's the other way, which is like so obvious. Man, who made all this? This is awesome. Is there a God? God, if you're there, I want to know you. And that's the purpose of the creation, to get man to say that. And when man starts saying, God, if you're there, I want to know you, versus God, I know you're there, but I don't want to know you because you might be holy, and I don't want to live a holy life. Well, that's the difference. You see, that's why some people cry out to God, because they really want to know him, even if they have to give up something. And other people don't cry out to God because they know they're going to maybe not be God themselves over their own lives. So two ways.
Can I ask 10th a question, please?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You believe that QE has scientific proof and backing to the existence of a creator, in the sense that science is protected in the flat earth debate?
You need to ask QE that question. I don't listen to QE a lot on his Saturday or weekly shows, so I don't know what show or what he said that you're referencing. So this is a question. You keep coming here and asking us about QE when you should be asking QE.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, because I don't know what context you're saying that, or he said something in. I mean, just go to the source.
What do you mean by science is protected in flat earth debate?
When we use the word science here, I'm sorry.
What was that, Neil?
When the word science is used here, it's not the colloquial use of it. It's protected by the scientific process, right? And there's a very clear, set out way that we use to analyze. And others who tried to bring in pseudoscience or things that are not science have been set aside because of that strict rule. True?
Vilified would have been a better word than set aside, but very modest of you. Yes, and very well put. Correct. I see what you mean by protected now. By protected, you mean we stick to the actual meaning of the word science as opposed to hijacking it and using pseudoscience in place of a claim of science. And we're strict about it. Yes, we are.
Oh, yeah. I always, this is why I'm here, simply because of that. And a lot of work is done in picking apart words, ideas, in order to protect that use of it. So now when 10th speaks of a creation and God, and this I would think would be the most important subject to him, if in the underpinning of this show, the 3 videos that you have under your show every day is made by QE, one in which he discusses proof of the creator. And he has done, again, a very, very good video that deals with this matter in, I think, a very direct way. And I just thought he would have looked at those, because it is such an important part of this show that we would be able to get an opinion. But that's okay.
No, hold on.
I can make
Hold on. Let me answer him. If I already know there's a creator, then I have a relationship with this creator, because my dead spirit has been given a new nature. Why do I need to look through science to meet him when I already met him and have a relationship with him?
Fine.
Why would I even...
Yeah, but you're saying you don't want to answer. I'll try and actually address the question he's asked, though. I'm supposed to say it doesn't.
But you asked me, Nathan.
No, yeah, but you're saying it doesn't need answering because you already have faith. Okay, fine.
Well, no, I didn't use the word faith. I wasn't even done with my total answer.
The non-answer is saying you don't need to answer for the reasons you're giving.
No, I just wanted to address something else. But now I'm trying to figure out what that was until I think you stopped me. But the whole point is I'm trying to tell Humble here that science, if someone says to me, science, because of your show and only your show, I'll say, what kind of science are you talking about? Are you talking about the use of it as knowledge of something? Or are you talking about the scientific method where you're required to have a hypothesis? And that really is what I do when I hear the word science. Well, science proved this. Well, are you talking in that use of science as knowledge because science means knowledge? Or are you talking about the scientific method where you actually have a hypothesis for something? And that seals the deal for me because they don't know at this point what to do, half of them, if not more. So
okay, can I try and answer his question directly? So you're saying you want scientific evidence for the creator. Now, I can't directly give you a scientific experiment that's validated a phenomena of God. But if you're asking for that, I can't give you. What I can do is link my reasoning to science because it is directly linked. That is to say that if you appreciate that there is a supernatural element that has an influence over the world, as proven by the quantum eraser and the double slit experiments, where very literally there is supernatural influence over the physical. And that can be contextualized for somebody who needs it dumbing down to information, thoughts, and the passing between people of those thoughts. That's information. There's nothing physical about that. It's supernatural and causal. It's directly causal in scientific validation. You can show how it has a causal influence. That would be to say wave function collapse. Please don't let me go through that with you for the third time because it's not part of this answer. But once you appreciate that information is causal, when you get to the ontological primitives, you end up with the two choices. Either nature created itself, that's the physical created the physical, which violates a natural law. Alternatively, there had to be an outside influencer to start the process of. So therefore, what is that outside influencer? Well, it's something that has that supernatural aspect of the world that we know it requires. That's knowledge, a knower. There must have been a knower first. So God, you can call it that. I don't mind. It's perfectly acceptable when people say dome. Yeah, whatever. It's not the word I'd use. But knower, I like. Because when you use that word, it can be, and is, directly connected to the supernatural causal influencer that's given us quantum mechanics, computing, semiconductors, things that we can actually see having an influence in our life because of the supernatural causal. That means that when you get to that justification in the ontological primitive, not that it needs it, because it's the only outcome. You don't need this. I'm just adding it because you've asked. You can say, I understand and appreciate that the starting point is the information, and you can't have information without a knower. Make sense?
In a sense,
Go on, Humble.
oh, sorry, I thought I was speaking with somebody else. Okay, no, in a sense, I think you have a pretty good, a better grip on where I'm coming from. Sometimes I feel than others that, yeah, that is without question the claim. And I will now use that because I did have an extensive discussion with Kira in one of his shows about this. But I'm still working my way through it. But this is where I feel that 10th Man has a video that has clearly, to me, an association with this. And again, I would like to just refer to his name that on sometimes I would like him to become the 10th man in this. And his name means that while the other 9 in the room may be advocating for something, maybe he should try and bring in the evidence I feel he has to try and make sure that all possibilities are viewed or looked at. And that's a 10th man role. But in this case, I just sort of feel he's avoiding it. I don't know why.
Are you holding out on us?
Hold on.
Hang on. What was my video? Hang on. What was my video?
Hold on. Before we get to that, just the 10th man position. I just want to get that clear because the audience will benefit from it. You're trying to frame it within the confines of the show, and it isn't. The 10th man reference is in regards to on a societal level. He's the 10th man, not in this panel. I mean, he might be the 10th man on the show, and we've often drawn that loose comparison. Well, I am actually the 10th man here, and it's like, but no, it's much more broad than that. But I do kind of see what you're saying. The other thing is, I don't necessarily know where you're coming from, just because I'm attentive enough to understand and be able to parrot back what you're saying or asking. And, that's just me being a show host, as opposed to me knowing where you're coming from. I don't mean that. Often ballers put a position that people don't want to address or want to skirt, and I'll have to paraphrase it to get them, my own side that is, to address the actual point, not because I know where they're coming from, but because I've listened to what they've actually said. That's all that is. So I just don't want you to confuse that with me suddenly aligning with you. And I've said it because 10th Man also did it earlier, subtly, like making it seem like I align with him with things he knows I don't, whilst peppering it with disclaimers that I don't, but drawing allegiance in certain aspects. Well, yeah, again, it may therefore to the audience seem like, oh, well, Nathan knows where 10th Man's coming from in this Christian aspect, which I may not. But I do understand it because I've listened to him. That's all it is. I just want to make that clear. Nathan, go ahead, 10th. 10th is the one I've just took the floor from.
Thank you. Hang on, Humble. Hang on, Humble. 10th, you've known me the longest. I'm pretty black and white. I get to the point. If I don't know, I'll come back with research. Have I said anything you do not know about me?
Who are you asking?
You.
What was the question again?
I said, you've known me the longest because obviously I came to your show, and from then I've been on your show. So you've known me the longest. I'm pretty black and white. I get right to the point. And if I don't know the answer, I go do research and come back with it. Have I described myself well?
I don't know. I'd say you're the antithesis. You're manipulative. You're devious.
Just go push buttons. Just go push buttons, all right? Anyway, Humble, you want me to say what you want me to say, it sounds like. That video I did, what was it labeled?
It had to do with math and science. I couldn't give you the exact label of it now, but it was the part that math plays in science and how it changes science from being real science in the sense that we use it here on this show.
Right. So it was done through research of all the science departments in universities and the science of mathematics, the science of this, the science of that. And I'm saying, well, all right, I got to talk about it because it says it, because it just means the knowledge in that area. And I use that as a contrast to the scientific method for cause and effect. That was all that I did in that video, I believe. And it was either real measurements or calculations. It was either the scientific method where you have a hypothesis and then you manipulate the IV to find if A causes B, or if it doesn't, you get a null. I think that's all I was doing. I don't know what else you saw in that.
Welcome. Flat Earth Debate live. I could basically say anything I like in this intro because it hasn't even connected yet. It takes an eternity to connect on 1440p. But there we go. I could be saying anything. People will listen to this and laughing in the after show. But when it does finally connect, welcome to Flat Earth Debate. Hopefully you'll all smash the share button, like, comment, share, join as a member and all that good stuff. If you'd like to actually join in the debate, there's a link in the info box below this video. Because I'm still not seeing myself on my own camera out my little corner of the eye, I'm just going to cut to the people and obviously figure out the timing for this at a later date, because it's not going to work properly, clearly. Arwin said there was a good solid 30 seconds of missing stuff, and I'm going to take it that is the case. It says there's an excellent connection. I'm just seeing black. Let's just refresh. This is the first time I've ever had to do this. Check that the live stream's actually functioning. No, got no live stream coming up. It says the connection's there. There we go. Looks like it's working, and it's been working for 8 seconds. So that's only for the privy of the for the people who were watching on the after show. But I'm going to do a proper intro as they've only just gone live. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Eli, Neil, 10th Man, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome, one and all.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey,
Good afternoon.
I'm definitely going to have to do something about the start of the live show, so for some reason going up a resolution and everything has slowed it down. I know Arwin mentioned it, but I didn't realise it was quite that bad. So there we go. A bit of a rough start today, but I will iron that out over time. I'll figure something out, I'm sure, over the weekend. That's my task. So good to have everyone. We haven't actually got a video prepared for today, so maybe we'll do a full session of housekeeping unless somebody comes up with something that we actually...
You got 14. You got 1428 stopping point on the Connor Pug video you got finished.
Oh, right. Yeah, we could do a part 3 on Connor. Fair enough. That sounds like a plan. No reason why not. It was juicy enough for us to get right into it to the point where it's taking us a full show to do 1/3 of it, and it's only a 20-minute video. So if I scroll up and find it, in the meantime, I'll ask the question, is there any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
No, and in the celestial navigation, as well as the equatorial mount telescope, they use a baseline. And the baseline that they use is the equatorial plane. So they're not even getting it from any curved surface that they want you to imagine that they're on.
What's the equatorial plane?
That's in the center of the Earth. Yeah, it's in the center of the Earth, in the center of the sphere.
Not exactly. The equator itself is the minimum angle to Polaris. So your latitude lines are derived from this concept of measuring angles as you move closer to Polaris from that minimum, the equator, a conceptual circle, or in navigational terms, an area of equal elevation. Circle of equal altitude. That's all it is.
When Polaris is at the horizon, it's no longer, if you keep going south, let's say, you're not going to see it. And in their model, that's Earth curve, and it just went under the Earth. In their whole setup, when you were seeing Polaris, when you can see Polaris, it was on a flat plane up until that point. So that's an interesting quandary they're in. Okay, we use a flat plane to get angles to Polaris until it drops so low on the horizon, then we can't see it. Then that's where Earth curve must start then. Yeah, but your mathematics tell me, based on 3959, at an observer height of 1 foot, that's got to be a 1.22, and it's not there either. So you got a big problem here. It could be that Polaris is just so far away you can't see it, and you're still on this equatorial plane of yours, which is exactly what it is, because they've got it extending all the way to the celestial sphere with the celestial horizon. So you've got Earth, physical, with a disk called the equatorial plane. Then you've got space, where it connects to the Earth's equatorial plane all the way to the stars. So one big flat disk in space. That's where they get their angles from. And yet they want you to believe you live on a globe.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
What's a hypothesis?
It's a
Science.
scientific prediction.
What has to happen first?
Hypothesis predicts the cause of an effect. It's a suppositional statement with both the antithesis of your prediction and the prediction in the statement. So if A, then B is your supposition that A causes B, B being the phenomena you observed in nature that you're studying, A being your supposition of cause. The null, antithesis of that prediction, is if A, supposition of cause, then not B, the thing you're studying and trying to cause by varying A. A null, the opposite of your prediction. That's a hypothesis.
All right. So if I'm believe in a globe and I'm an astronomer and I see stars in the sky, I have the observation, but I'm stuck there. I can't manipulate anything, so it doesn't fall into a scientific method for cause and effect. It would just have to be observe and declare at that point.
Yeah, shout out to Slick James Johnson. Exactly. Observe and declare. That's why they call it astronomy, astronaming. Look at a little twinkle light, give it a name. Okie dokie. Can you remember what timestamp we got up to with
1428.
1428. Okay, well I'm at 1414, so we'll go from there.
We follow these accounts on TikTok, and these TikTok accounts are telling us that actually the Earth is flat, and that it's the government trying to hide something. And
we watch these YouTube accounts, and these YouTube accounts like Connor Perks talk about Earth being a sphere because they're zealots, and it's all because of YouTube. It's YouTube's fault.
You dumbass.
And Brian's like, guys, why would the government want to hide that the Earth is actually flat? Like, why would they go to such effort?
Why would you're trying to divine the motivation, or the teacher in this instance, the Brian character, is trying to divine the motivation of a claim of motivation when we've got a claim on the table that gravity isn't real. So where we're standing is let's talk about the motivation of government. It's like you might be a government employee depending on which country you're in, or a civil servant or whatever they call you. But ultimately, that doesn't mean you know the inner workings of government in any way, shape, or form. My point is that even if we were going to ascribe motivational reasoning behind this, you've got no basis to talk about it. I'm talking about the teacher now. Is appealing to a kid, by the way. Asking the kid, why would government lie? I'm just a kid, sir, but I just know that Einstein's now the current gravity and Newton's not a force. That was replaced 180. Yeah, but it's being put on the kid to tell the teacher why governments would lie. Now, number one, step back from yourself and ask yourself that question. And if you're going, governments don't lie, then you're a dumbass.
That was my point I was going to bring up. The kids know what lie is because that's when kids lie a lot, is when they're kids. So this guy's saying, why would the government lie when we all know the government has lied? So really, it's a stupid, malformed question. It should be, well, the government has lied before and people lie, so, but I can't divine the motives to know why they would lie. But we know they do lie. That would be better, but then he wouldn't have that whole segment.
To convince us that it's round. Like, what's the big deal if it's actually flat? Like, if it was, why would they hide it?
Because it's fundamentally in opposition to what they actually do claim and teach, and the teacher that we're talking about will be teaching this. Now, that's why he's got an objection to it. But your question is to turn it around and say, why would they lie about it not being flat? That's how it's being paraphrased back to the kid, because obviously it's a debate, and we're going to discuss this and debate it with the kid who's being charged with actually giving a good presentation, which he's definitely done. I think we established that yesterday. Hello, is
Wouldn't it be safe to say that it was for control, just to control people?
Yeah, that's what all government's for, in all respects. The word itself is derived from control.
And that was almost like, okay, besides all the obvious, just like misinformation from the Gen Z kids, that was actually a pretty good point. Like, why would they care so much?
The people who are literally employed to govern. You're actually asking this question. Oh my God. This is the problem with the world. A lot of people are thick. Just thick. Like, say the word. Government. Yeah, why would they be? I mean, why? It's absurd. Just thick. Thick as shit. I mean, come on. Don't let me lose this much faith in humanity. Please, Connor. Please.
Like, on the real, bro, why would the government be like, oh my God, we
government?
Gotta falsify every single photo that we've ever received, and we gotta, like, pay off every single person who worked.
Why has he now got this teacher in the narrative speculating all this nonsense? Meaningless drivel.
Hang on. That's his problem that he's talking. Every photo, what photos? And what, and pay off everyone? Not to, what do you mean pay off? They're deceived too. Very few people, I mean, it's compartmentalized. And then this whole thing about control people, that's what government must do because they have power. We can see this all day long. I mean, some of us who follow the news online could see the corruption in government. But see, now if the higher power was God, then no man-made government could take away your rights. And so this is why government has to create a worldview that there is no creator so that they become the power in your life rather than your God-given rights.
I object to the fact that the stupidity level is off the charts as far as I can ascertain. Because it's like one of the other people we critiqued, some skinny brunette who used to work for NASA, right? And while we were doing it, we were pointing out this is a paid government shill. That's what she is. Self-confessed, openly admitting it, being paid. Yet this teacher in the narrative is questioning whether government, are they a charity organisation? They just do it for the fun of it? No, they are paid. You stupid idiot. And what are they paid to do? To govern you. I mean, are these people this stupid? It enrages me that I assume Connor Pugs is roughly the same generation as me. That he could be this thick. He doesn't understand the very words coming out of his own mouth. I find it deeply objectionable. While I sit, for a small chunk of this morning, teaching my kid Latin at 6. So why am I teaching my kid Latin? So she understands what words mean. How the word itself is formed. How that's useful for other languages. To have a good comprehension of language. And yet people like this will question whether or not government would be paid by suggesting you'd have to pay them off to govern you. Oh my God, it makes me furious how stupid people are.
And every scientist and every astronaut and even Jeff Bezos, because now he...
Are they all charities? Oh no, shockingly they're paid. Now astronauts... Glad that came up. Otherwise I don't know where to go with this rage. I'll put it back on. Astronauts! Yeah, astronauts are paid liars. Because they're going to a second law of thermodynamics violation space that gas would fill, leaving us all dead. Because gas fills space, and they claim to be going to a space. Outer space. A space gas would fill, in line with entropic law. So I know damn well, without any hesitation, that astronauts specifically are paid government liars. That's what they are. That's a fact. I can prove it. We'd all be dead if they were actually in Narnia. I mean outer space. Ironically called space, which is what gas would fill. The gas we're all breathing at high pressure. So astronauts are most definitely paid, yeah, handsomely to lie. So what about the teacher? Is he being paid to punt his religious faith in a sphere Earth? He suddenly sits outside of this nonsensical assertion that everyone have to be paid off. No, the teacher is being paid. And he's forcing this onto a child, and being paid to do so. Are you nuts? What, you think that it suddenly takes someone to go out of their way to shill for this when the teacher's doing it in the story? My God. People are thick as shit.
Nathan, why would they lie?
Even though the teacher in the story is literally doing it about Einstein. He's lying. Literally, I can unequivocally say, to be in this position, the guy knows that the kid was right when he said Newton's not true, which is something that was claimed to be said by this kid. So the teacher knows the kid's right. So the teacher's a liar too. And he's being paid.
He's going to space, and all the people that are going to pay a lot of money to go to space.
Nobody's going to space. Space is fake. Can't have gas pressure without a container. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. It's based on entropic law. It's something also taught in universities to a similar standard that this guy was taught that gravity's not a force. Maybe he wasn't taught about entropic law, but he knows damn well gravity's not a force. Go ahead, whoever that was.
That was me. We even have a clip with Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that these people who pay for these rocket trips, they're not going into space. They're just going high up. Even Neil deGrasse Tyson knows they're not going into space.
Outer space is fake.
We got to pay them all off to make sure everyone thinks...
Pay them all off? You think by adding off onto the end of them being paid, which they are, it makes it somehow different to being paid? Paid off? No, the teacher wasn't paid off to shill his religion to the kid when it had absolutely nothing to do with the task he was actually being paid for. He did that off his own back, but he still got paid, not paid off.
The Earth is round when in fact it is flat. Like, why would they care?
Because it keeps you very much under control. Dumbed down to the point where you don't understand what the word government means.
It's like, for example, if they were trying to convince everyone the sky's actually green, like, why would they bother?
No, that's absurd. They're trying to convince you that the sky is an empty space that gas isn't filling, not that it's a colour that is obviously not the case. I know it's not green, and I'm colourblind. So you're going to have a task to even convince me when I can't see bloody colours correctly, because I know damn well that's not the case. But you, along with the teacher, have been indoctrinated to believe that the area above your head is an area of empty space gas isn't filling, in violation of natural law. Something you're punting onto this kid, the teacher, that is.
How they're doing that, bro, it just makes no sense. So the thing is, though, the Gen Z kid and also his little Gen Z kid allies were all like, no, they're doing it for reasons we don't understand, but it's true.
Yeah, exactly. So even the kids can recognise and appeal to motivation fallacy.
Also, gravity isn't real. And with
so they reiterate their winning point that the teacher knows he's got to now lie about.
That, like, the teacher, bro. Like, Brian was like, what do you mean gravity isn't real? They're like...
Whoa, well, you were taught it, Brian, the teacher. Yeah? Fourth dimensional Einsteinian gravity would have been taught to you for you to get your teacher's degree. So therefore you know damn well it's fourth dimensional bending of space-time, unless you didn't pay enough attention in that class. But you seem to be quizzing it. It's come up multiple times. Yeah, that's because we know damn well it's not a force, and that's what will be taught to these children by this teacher. A lie.
Like, it's fake. And he's like, okay. The teacher...
okay. Sounds like a tacit admission. If it was actually a force, do you not think you'd be damn well correcting them and going, no? Maybe dropping a pencil to assert that when something displaces air, it's actually because of a force of gravity that the kid's going to be taught by the teacher. He just said, okay. Yes, because he knows it's not a force he was taught in university and then told on the syllabus that he's going to teach something completely contradictory. That's why he went, okay.
Brian picks up a pencil.
Oh, called it. What about if he picked up a helium balloon? What would happen then in this scenario? Let's just go through the scenario with me being the teacher picking up a helium balloon, and let's see if there's any difference in what occurs.
Stretches his hand out with...
So I'm going to stretch out my hand with my helium balloon. Yeah, we're all with you.
The pencil in it, and
helium balloon in hand. Yes, yes.
very clearly drops the pencil onto the...
Hold on. Something's gone wrong. I let go of my helium balloon and it went up. And as I watched it go up towards the clouds, I understood implicitly that not all things go through air if they're less dense than it, like pencils. They're more dense, so they go down. They displace the air. Unlike the helium balloon, less dense goes up. So why would the teacher be dropping a pencil to assert that there's a force of gravity? Is that because the teacher is now literally lying through his scummy teeth after being taught otherwise and telling the kid that there is a force when it's been superseded 108 years ago? Yeah, that's why I don't put my kids in school, so that teachers like this one can lie to their face. It's outrageous.
He's outright deceiving them.
Say again, Neil.
I said he's outright deceiving them at that moment.
Yeah, he knows it too. He knows he's lying to them because he's been taught about Einsteinian fourth-dimensional conceptual gravity when he got to university to get his teaching degree. Therefore, at the point he starts saying, I drop a pencil, the force of gravity pulls it to the ground like everything else, including the clouds and helium balloons, then he's lying to the kids. It's just disgusting.
Okay, explain that. Like,
so he's put the onus in this debate, aka presentation challenge, onto the kid to disprove a notion of relative density disequilibrium, something way above the kid's pay grade, by asserting that gravity, which is not a force, has made the pencil go down when you can easily debunk that with a helium balloon or looking up at the sky at a cloud. So the teacher's just being a shit, isn't he? Yeah? Now, does Connor Page recognise that? Nah, because he's brain dead. Connor Pugs has got no horse in this race. He just found it objectionable because he also has a zealot belief in the Earth being a sphere. That's why he's interjected. Not that he's got any idea about any of this subject. Not that he knows the teacher's lying. He also, like the kid being lied to, is under the misapprehension, no doubt, that gravity's a bloody force. Hey, Connor, Dumbo. You need to step out of this arena. You haven't got a horse in this race. Just contain your objections. Yeah? Just understand that people more intelligent than yourself who understand what words mean, like government, do understand the deception of a sphere Earth. You have had a cursory glance. The kids in this class know more about it than you do.
What's bringing that down? And the
bringing it down, what, like my helium balloon went up? Dumbo.
The kid is like, I don't know, but it's not gravity. And Brian's like, what?
Yeah, and he's right. Einsteinian fourth-dimensional space-time bending didn't cause the pencil to drop. It was moved out of equilibrium when you picked it up. It wasn't going down before the teacher intervened. But you're going to charge the kid with answering it? So it's a full-on debate. Absolutely bloody outrageous.
What do you mean? Like, what are you saying right now? And Brian's like, guys, like, I get it. You want to be like, there's nothing wrong in questioning authority. In fact, you should always kind of have a
lying
little bit
about
in the back
gravity,
of your head, like,
he's now moving on to saying, now I've proven you wrong. What with his lie? About a force of gravity pulling a pencil down? Total lie. So now he's going to move on to how it's all about his authority. Who was it that said that yesterday? Somebody called that. I think it might have been Adam. Called it. That's what this is really about. This could cause a problem later down the line when I have to teach him about forces of gravity. That's why that got focused on, obviously.
Always ask yourself why you're doing X, why you're doing Y, because some people do not have the best intentions for you.
Why are you doing a presentation on something that you could pick anything on? Maybe you should ask yourself that. What if he's supposed to be asking himself that, the kid that is, why wasn't it put to him before he was told he could cover anything? Anything, unless there's a general idea that it might be against my religious belief. Then I'm going to tell you afterwards that there's many things you should have considered that I did not tell you about. How fucking unreasonable. Seriously, how unreasonable.
So it's always good to be proactive about that stuff. But why? Like,
so he's proactively gone out and looked at the nature of reality and he's being told off and told he should be proactive. Bloody convoluted doublespeak being fed to kids.
Legitimately, Why? Well,
he doesn't mean go out and proactively research a damn thing. He means listen to what we tell you in this class, respect my authority, and parrot it how I say it. Don't go outside of the lines. Don't look at anything beyond what I'm going to teach you here. Yeah, proactively research what I tell you. What a joke.
Why is there no gravity? Why is it not gravity? Is it just like, did I just push did I like, I don't know, stop time for a second and then like pull the pen down with like all the force?
So the teacher's talking about time? Now, isn't that interesting? So even in the narrator's understanding of what the teacher made clear to the child, he incorporated time, letting me smugly declare to my audience that I'm 100% correct when I say this lying bastard shit of a teacher knows it's not a force, because now he's integrated time into his cognitive dissonance reply and challenged to a child to explain this lie after dropping a pencil. Why would he be mentioning time when Euclidean three-space mass-attracting mass that pulls a pencil to the ground has no time dimension? Oh, he's mentioning time because he was taught about it in university. That there's a bending time dimension that's got something to do with this just isn't what he's going to be teaching the children. He's going to be teaching them about Newton. So when the kid told him Newton's wrong, oh, well, that's a problem because I'm going to be teaching you later on next year. So I better correct you because this causes me a problem as a Muslim when you say you believe in Christ. Yeah? That's what this really is.
In the world to make it seem like gravity is real. Like, bro, I just don't understand where you're coming from. So the really sad, depressing thing, bro, is Brian tells me that for the rest of the class, like instead of like, he literally needs to push off the other presentations to the next day.
Outrageous. All the bits of information I wanted to get clarified in this were, when I was saying earlier he should have just shut the kid up with his hand up and moved on to the next kid, having given this kid who got everybody engaged in his presentation a distinction. That's what should have happened, because what's happened as a result? Well, they have to push it over to the next day. He's got so caught up in dealing with his cognitive dissonance that he's overrun. Yeah, what a useless teacher, can't even keep track of time. Not the bending fourth-dimensional space-time that he incorporated into his lie about a pencil dropping, because he's going to be teaching Newtonian concepts that are out of date later in the year. No, just lost track of the clock on the wall. Crap teacher.
Because for the rest of the class, he was just having a back and forth with the Gen Z kids.
Oh, he's just having a debate with someone who'd already finished the presentation? And it's just the kids that are Gen Z that are this. That's the fault of this, really. It's not the kid. It's the teacher having a bloody debate after the fact. But it's just these Gen Z kids. Because Connor the wanker has decided that it's not the teacher who's supposed to keep control of the class. It's not the teacher who should just give a class mark based on what each child does in respect to what they've been challenged to do. No, it's the bloody Gen Z flat earth kids. Isn't that right, Connor? You total wanker.
About like, guys, gravity is real.
Is it? Even though he was taught that it very much isn't and is conceptual fourth-dimensional space-time bending? Is that what you think, Connor? Bit of a Dumbo, huh? Didn't get to university to learn about what gravity isn't, right? No? You think it's real like Santa? No, Connor. Let me be the first to tell your dumb ass what gravity isn't. It's not physical. It's not real. It has no physical influence over anything in your life. It's described by Einstein in a mathematical pseudo, you know what that word means? I know you know what government means. Pseudo fourth dimension. That's length, breadth, depth, and time, like the teacher mentioned. Remember? You see how this is all coming together, Connor? Because that is not physically influencing anything. AKA, not real. That's Newtonian mass-attracting mass 108-year out-of-date crap that the kid very specifically said
more than once is not real, Connor. And he's right. Not only is he right, the teacher knows it and is having to lie about it and incorporate time. So he can have a little bit of weasel room to stay in line with Einstein as he lies about the effect of a pencil dropping, while the kids that might be actually losing interest at this point are looking out at the clouds, out the window, maybe looking on the cloud on their phone. I like what I did there. Anyway, your boring ass is now debating this kid who should be long sat down onto the next kid. I just introduce Adam as he's probably got a lot to say on this and do a quick shout out to Godzilla37, who says, let's just bring it up for the audience. He says, the teacher doesn't understand the weight of the situation and the kids won't fall for it. Maybe they need someone with more gravitas. Very well put, all puns included. But the sentiment, I totally agree with Godzilla. Absolutely. The teacher needs to be a better teacher. He needs to... If he's being outshone by a kid talking about flat Earth, then he needs to consider a new job. Because that's what's actually happened here, isn't it? Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys. I've only literally just joined, so we're back on the...
Yeah, we're just rounding out this Connor Pugs video. We won't be... 3 minutes left, I think, on the video, something like that. 2 minutes, not even that. Minute and a half.
What can I say to make you believe this, man? Like,
so the teacher's appealing. What can I say to make you believe? No. Adam pointed this out yesterday. Provide some empirical evidence that Earth is just a sphere and gravity is real. Something we ask for on a daily basis. Provide that, and the kids will never, ever mention it ever again. Not appeal to them for what they would require as children to believe your faith. No, you don't. That's not how it works. What do you need from me, kid? What have I got to give you to believe in gravity? Come on. What am I going to do?
Gravity is a real thing. The Earth...
This teacher's continuously lying, doubling down on his lie, by the way.
Earth is not flat. And the Gen Z kids would just be like...
So, but based on the fact that gravity's real when the teacher knows he's lying about it, it's a sticky wicket he needs to get over with a few kids. That's the basis of Earth not being flat. That's a complete non sequitur.
Faceless assertion again. Gravity is a real thing. Please, it is. I'm not going to provide any evidence for that. I'm just going to double down on the statement and move forward.
You dropped a pencil.
That's the whole premise is, so all the kids need is evidence. Because the reason the teacher's in this mess is that flat earthers have evidence why it can't be a spinning ball in space, yeah? And that's why they're at this situation that it's made so much sense to a kid. He's done a presentation on it, and a very, very good one. And it's coherent to everybody that's listening, yet the teacher cannot evidence one of the things that supports the thing that is definitely true.
But I saw on TikTok, I saw this thing on Twitter that says so, but that was basically the argument.
So you haven't got any ideas what the argument was, even though it's been detailed 3 times, objected to, lied about by a teacher who knows better. But you think blah, blah, blah is the argument. No. They specifically overcame an interjection from a sidebar from a kid that shouldn't have been saying anything about gravity, which wasn't the kid's claim. That's what actually happened. No blah, blah, blah. That was an overcome of a globe Earth claim that the kid had to field from outside of the remit of the challenge that he was set. So, no, that was a heliocentric claim that was overcome by a child. Because the child knows, as the teacher does, that gravity is not real. Newtonian forces of gravity do not exist. That is a fact.
Basically, the most intellectual steelman summary of their argument is bloop. That's basically their argument, guys.
Other than the Newtonian gravitational force that was superseded 108 years ago, taught to the teacher and lied about by the teacher, you think the summary is blur? No, that's your spastic rendition of the argument because you didn't understand any of it, Connor. That's why you've gone blur, because that's what you heard. Me, hearing it third hand from you, took more out of it with your repeating it than you did yourself, which is basically seemingly impossible. That you could comprehend less than your own words that you're using. Amazing, Connor. Truly amazing. You were the one that gave me the information about
Newtonian gravity being part of the argument the kid put forth. The only bit I got from you. And yet you don't think there was any argument. It wasn't supposed to be a debate.
If I'm being real, that's their argument. And the saddest thing...
Sorry, that's their argument? You keep saying it. So, is this reasonable? That if I send my kid to this school, that when they come back, set a challenge to do a presentation on anything, and my kid says, I want to do a presentation on X, that when they come back after school, they explain that that resulted in a debate with the teacher? I mean, I'd be down talking to the headmaster about this little wanker teacher, this 23-year-old upstart, who's overrun his class because he's entered into a debate with a child.
That the teacher told me, or Brian said, that the saddest thing in the whole situation is that he wasn't able to convince him.
So this is a sad situation. The kid's done so well on the assignment that he's captivated an audience of 666,000 Connor Pug subscribers, right? He's done that well, but the teacher's mind is going, the saddest thing about this is X. Salty taste in teacher's mouth is all that gets focused on. I knew I made the right decision to home ed.
Nah, the saddest part is that he's lost to a kid. If it ever actually came to a debate, he's already lost.
But he didn't lose. He won by dropping a pencil and saying that gravity was real, and then dropped in subtly time. What, the fourth dimensional time in Einstein's gravity that's not a force? Yeah, that's what he did.
Said...
He lied to claim a victory, and as soon as he claimed it, with a lie, he started talking about his authority. That's what actually happened, according to the narrator.
At this point where you stopped it, if you go back 2 seconds, let it play, he says the saddest thing is that he can convince the class. The teacher couldn't convince.
That's basically their argument, guys. If I'm being real, that's their argument. And the saddest thing that the teacher told me, or Brian said that the saddest thing in the whole situation, is that he wasn't able to convince them otherwise. Yeah, to this day, Brian's classmates still believe, or at least some of them, believe that the Earth is flat and the gravity is fake.
So he didn't even do a good job. What, when he dropped his pencil, it didn't convince the kids? So the saddest thing is how useless the teacher was. Yeah, he feels self-pity. That's all that is.
As was requested yesterday, provide the kids with some empirical evidence, yeah, that demonstrates your claim. So what's he done? He's expressed disappointment and done an NDT. Not provided any empirical evidence. He's done a sarcastic mic drop with a pencil this time, which is so beneath the level of his students, yeah, that he doesn't realise this, yeah. He doesn't realise that the students are ridiculing him for that. They don't think, oh, that's brilliant, what a great way to settle the debate. They recognise that that's not evidence. It's just an affirming the consequence.
No, they didn't recognise it. No. They didn't recognise and affirming the consequence. The kids didn't know that there's a lie. How the hell would they know that there's two versions of gravity? One was superseded Einsteinian gravity 108 years ago and is a bending fabric of a fourth dimension. None of the kids stood up and went, sorry, did your pencil dropping demonstrate the bending of the fabric of space-time then? None of them are at that level, are they? Most of the people who are watching this aren't at that level. Connor Pug certainly isn't at that level. But the teacher is. That's the bottom line here. The teacher had to lie to claim a victory.
No, I don't think he got a victory at all.
You can in a sec, Brian. Just a quick shout out to Retro Bill, who says, interesting fact. Let's just press my button to bring this up. Interesting fact. The lyrics of Handel's first Oratorio, is that how you say it? In 1707 read, "Time is supreme, time is a mighty power, whom the wisest mortals will adore." Well, then, there you go. There you go there, then. Thank you for the super chat, Retro Bill. Sorry, Brian, go ahead.
Okay, no hassle, Nathan. Hello, everyone. Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
I don't think for a moment that that teacher got a victory, because it became very obvious to the class, even though they may not understand it, they may not know this, that all he so like on a deep level, they understood all he did was produce a reversal of the burden of proof fallacy. It's like, I drop a pencil, so gravity. You know what I mean? You haven't proven this gravity. That's basically all they said to him. You haven't proven this gravity. You just dropped the pencil. That doesn't prove what your claim. You know, he was trying to get somehow for the kid to somehow give him some explanation. He doesn't have to give him an explanation. The kid's not making a claim about why the pencil drops.
Right.
You know, that's a globe claim. It's dropping because of gravity. Even though the teacher had to be also lie and step outside the truth, which was that a force of gravity does not exist officially. But he still had to, he still had to go back to the original old and busted gravity, but he had to use a fallacy. That's not a win.
Yeah, and he used a fallacy for an unproven globe claim to say Earth isn't flat. Complete non sequitur. It's like useless as all. Oh my God.
Brian tried his best. He literally brought, like, a week later, he brought in the physics teacher to do a little lesson on gravity or whatever. He said, oh, it's for communications. The communication scale is you listening to this guy. Like, bro was literally pulling all the strings to try and get these kids to learn the truth. But no.
And what did they learn about gravity from the physics teacher? I'll tell you what they learned. They learned that there's a force. That's what they learned from the physics teacher. Also a lying shitbag who damn well knows better because he's a physics teacher who knows about Einsteinian bending fourth dimensional space-time. That's the current gravity, a conceptual fourth dimensional described by Einstein as pseudo gravity. Yeah. But was that what the kids got taught? Definitely not, as I said in the last couple of shows. One of our own, a flat earther, appealing at government level for this lie to be changed. Why are we lying to our children about what gravity isn't when it was replaced 108 years ago? So that Connor Pugs here can think that the teacher got a win when he dropped a pencil in front of a load of kids, even though the teacher knows better too. You don't know, Connor. Most people don't know. Most people didn't get to university. Yeah? Or maybe you did. You just weren't paying attention. You were on your phone looking at TikTok.
Still to this day, they believe that the Earth is flat and the gravity is actually fake. And it just goes to show you that sometimes, man, some people don't want to help themselves. Like, some people, bro, will just, like, you can give them everything.
So you didn't give us anything. You just told us that your religious belief in a force called gravity, which isn't real but was lied to you about and these kids about, is somehow real and we should know better. That's it. That's your evidence. As evidenced by nothing. Go on.
What I'm hearing right now is, like I said yesterday, is fear, right? Because now this teacher couldn't convince, quote unquote, the kids of what his claim is. Then he had to bring another physics teacher to bring him in, and the kids still don't believe it. So what I hear is fear that the programming is breaking down horribly, and this is detrimental to them. That's what I hear coming out of this guy's voice.
Wow, good point, Chuck. Right on it.
I'm going to have to interrupt you again, Brian. I'm really sorry. I did this twice now. Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, interesting fact, in 1753, Godzilla's overture had this lyric in it. Globers are dumb. And he says, shout out to Retro Bill. Indeed. Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla37. Really appreciate it. Also, one DJ Deck House Music says, the globe is flat. The Greeks, dust mites, knew that. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate the support. Go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry to cut you off the second time.
Don't worry about it. It's fine. No, what I was going to say is the physics teacher came in to teach him about non-physics, something that not only is it out of date and officially not a force, but gravity is not physics. It doesn't exist. You have to prove something existed, through scientific method or something. You can't just call gravity physics. It's not physics. There's no proof of its existence. But what the most important thing is what the physics teacher did is he did come in to teach them about a bit of physics. He came in and taught them about Archimedes' principle. But never mentioned that it was Archimedes' principle. He called it buoyancy, and he said it's an effect of gravity, of a force of gravity. That's what he did, right? Because one of the kids said helium balloon. Well, maybe it was the main kid said helium balloon when the other idiot dropped his pencil. So this guy came in to tell him all about buoyancy and the effects that we observe because of a force of gravity. That's what happened, because that's all they do. So it's just, helium balloon, buoyancy, you know what I mean? Which is Archimedes' principle, nothing to do with Newtonian. Long time before Newtonian, acclaimed Newtonian gravity ever turned up. That's what that physics teacher did.
Isn't gravity the total opposite? It's the bending of time and space, right?
Yes.
Pseudo-harmonious space. So that's nothing physical about that at all. It's imagination land.
That's correct. But what Brian's saying is they'll have gas go down, go boom, boom, pushing the helium balloon up in line with Archimedes' principle in description to the children, and then they'll ascribe the force of gravity as a causal influencer to that description. That's a force of gravity making gas go down, go boom, boom to force the other gases up. Well, gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom. Gas expands in all directions to fill the volume that it's got. So it doesn't work with the description with Archimedes when you describe it with gas behaviour. But that doesn't matter if you're explaining it to a child and saying, no, there's a force pulling the gas down, and that force pulling the gas down makes the balloon that's less dense go up. And when they look up buoyancy, they'll find the descriptions and definitions linked directly to gravity also. Because that concept, although originally described by Archimedes, has been incorporated into gravity. So the definition of buoyancy, if you go, well, it's flat earthers used to fall into this mistake in 2015, 2016. So I remember very distinctly, sorry to do it to you, Morgile, but Morgile saying, well, it's pressure density and buoyancy. And you're like, okay, well, the pressure bit, fine. Yes, we've got pressure. But when you come to describing buoyancy and you put that to a ball earther, they just go and whip out a definition that says that that's as a cause or causally linked to the force of gravity. Again, 108-year out-of-date nonsense from Newton.
Yeah, but the thing about I never have an issue with the word buoyancy because I know it's hijacked by them, and it's added to something that is now out of date in their model. You know, so I understand why people had to move away from the term, but I actually like using the term because it's like, no, it's not your term. It has nothing to do with your little city force that doesn't exist. It's purely a density and displacement issue. That's what it is. That's what Archimedes' principle is. You know, I don't have an issue with it at all. But they have to, the only thing they can do is they have to claim, they're inadvertently claiming, as you pointed out, Nathan, but I'd say it in a slightly different way, that the air has weight. And because it's more heavy, it's pushing and displacing the less heavy helium balloon up. You know, right? You can't weigh any of these things. You can't weigh any gas without a container. You know, total nonsense. So, but buoyancy is the reason why the helium balloon has gone up. That is true. If you look at Archimedes' principle, it is buoyancy. But it's not because the air that we breathe has weight, which is a singular downward vector. That's not the reason. It's going up due to density, not due to weight.
Well summarised.
Technically.
Yeah, the gas around us moves in all directions. It doesn't have a downward bias, a downward vector. Gravity is a downward vector.
Yeah. If gravity, since gravity is not a force, and since gravity doesn't exist, Eric Valinder, the theoretical physicist, says, and as well as they have admitted that it's Einsteinian 4D now, then what is it pushing if it doesn't exist? So this whole argument about buoyancy linked to gravity also dies when they admit gravity doesn't exist.
That's what I was saying.
You can bring a horse, you can lead a horse to water, bro, but you can't make it drink. And to this day, Brian still tries to convince these kids. He still sends them articles. He still sends them whatever.
Still shares his pain.
But honestly, Brian has realized that these Gen Z kids are just 100% lost and that TikTok has stolen their brains away from them, basically.
Okay, that's the end of that.
Is Connor Boggs Brian by any chance?
Exactly.
No, the Brian. No. The Brian character, Brian, is the teacher.
No, we know that. But
yeah, but is Connor Boggs the teacher? Is his real name Brian?
No,
is he a teacher?
I get what you're saying, and I know it's funny. I just want to make it clear. No, he's just projecting his insecurities onto the teacher character in his narrative. That's all he's doing. And I want to add this, that in so doing, he gave so much life to that story, and I've given Connor Pugh so much crap. I do want to say again, a big commendation to him, you know, to do what he's done in that video, for us to even be able to react to this. I didn't know what 10th Man was saying when he explained to me how this video is formatted. But now I do, obviously, because we've got to the end of it. But my hat is off to the guy. There are certain people who can do that, who can give life to a story and convey enough information for us to be as passionate as we have and react to that on its own without a single clip of the video. That's skill. So Connor Pugs, good job. I'm not, you know, aside from all the things we disagree on in this regard, or I've disagreed with you on, or disagreed with the way you've narrated the story in that regard, the way you've put it across is fantastic. You know, I'm going to share your video again. Hopefully this is encouraging people who constantly critique me and do adverts for me, let's call them, to do the same. Hopefully you'll share my links in future, as nobody ever does it. There you go. There's Connor Pugs. Go and check him out. I'm sure he's got other videos that are less enraging for Flat Earther, but there we go. So check him out. I've put the link to that video, which is called Gen Z Kid Thinks the Earth is Actually Flat, in the live stream chat. So go and check him out if you want to subscribe to him. Hopefully you will. I'll even give the video a like, because I did enjoy it a great deal.
I got a question. Oh, let me get a question.
10th first.
In
10th,
any
go
of the
ahead then, Neil.
articles,
Well, go ahead, Neil. Go first, Neil. I'll go after you.
in any of the articles, because he said the teacher's been sending them articles, and they still hold to the flat Earth belief. In any of these articles, was there any proof of the spinning water ball or this gravity nonsense that they're talking about?
Yeah, we don't know that, Neil. That's just the way he's rounded out the story to make it clear to the audience that after the fact, the teacher continually pestered the kids about his religious belief. Yeah, thanks. We got that at the end of the story, but we don't know what pamphlets he shared to these kids.
Well, my comment is, if you watch this whole thing again, you'll see that it went from a simple classroom assignment of any topic that you were only going to be graded on the skill of presentation, not the topic itself. And there were other topics, but then when it came to this topic, there was a bump in the road. So all of a sudden, he had to admit, okay, look, I'm still going to give you an A because your delivery was fantastic, but I'm going to stop the whole class now because I've got to tell you that TikTok is brainwashing you. So now all of a sudden it turns into the medium of an online service that is giving misinformation to these kids, according to the teacher. The kids were telling him, in no uncertain terms, the misinformation is coming from the school system. This guy works for the school system. He's got to reverse the burden that that the misinformation is really TikTok, not the school system. This is why he said, why would they lie? Why would the government lie? Why would... And then to the point where he can't convince these kids, in the story at least, whether true or not, he brings the physics teacher who should be able to convince the kids, because this is a learned man in a particular field. And he still can't convince the kids. Dang, TikTok has more power than the school system, is really what I'm getting.
That's not true. You can't tar the school system with the one teacher in this regard. He's got to be very focused on this young, inexperienced teacher who lost control of the class, can't keep their attention off the phones, etc., etc. And the fact that he was upstaged massively by a presentation that he had no overcomes for, so therefore he turned it into a debate, lied about gravity, and then asserted his authority, and then pestered the kids after the debate. What an outrage when I summarise it like that.
Right, but it's in that context of this one teacher within this school district. It's not every teacher would have done that. This teacher did it.
Can I say something?
You can, but I'm going to do a couple of quick shout-outs, if that's okay by you. So, Retro Bill, another shout-out. Thank you for all the super chats. MySpace and TikTok are merging into a new platform called Spacetime. Very good. Really appreciate the support, Retro Bill. Thank you for all the super chats. Also, Face Reality says, kids being lied to in school, hashtag unacceptable, and then a globe, and then a fire. Thank you very much. Really appreciate all the super chats today, guys. Really appreciate it. How many are watching, by the way? 134 people watching. That's a lot of people watching. Marvellous. I'm sure we will get to 150 for one of these live shows, and then we'll just extend it. It's a standing thing. If we get to about, what are we at, 55 minutes, there or thereabouts. Yeah, we're over 150. I'll just extend the live show. So smash the share button. We might get there in the next 5 minutes. I doubt it. But if we do, we'll continue the show live. Oh, we won't.
What happened to Gene? He was going to say something.
Oh, my bad. I forgot
yeah.
Gene. Sorry. That is my fault. Go ahead, Gene.
Well, you know, I don't know if this story is even true or not by Connor Pugs. There's no citations, no link. You know, we don't. This could all be false. So I'm not going to get worked up over it. Not too interested in it. And also, I mean, I don't think that's a skill. I mean, congratulations on your YouTube channel, but I don't think that's a skill. Telling stories, yeah, not impressed.
You're wrong.
I think anybody can tell a story.
Okay. I challenge you to be as engaging as that. In the same way I critique the kid as being extremely engaging because he's got the whole class listening, even debating him. He's got the teacher so engaged that he kept sending him pamphlets months after the presentation, right? And by the same standard, I have to apply that same exact logic to Connor, don't I? We've just spent 3 shows reacting to his video, to his content. If it was made up, which is irrelevant, it doesn't matter. We're critiquing the context, not the validity of the story or the legitimacy of the story. Or even Connor Pug's delivery. Or even Connor Pug's delivery and communication of the story, regardless of fiction or non-fiction. The point is...
You can make up 1 million stories.
Yeah, but he's got us. We've spent 3 shows on him. You're telling him that isn't skilled? I disagree. No response. Was that it? Anything else?
No. I'm just saying I could go get a Reddit story and do it tomorrow and have us react on that. And trust me, I'll have a lot more by the end of the week.
Oh yeah. You know how many people try and turn that into a YouTube channel? Loads of people try and turn taking an interesting Reddit thread and reading it out and having an audience. Some people can do it and engage you, and some just read off the comments in a tone that's nice and with a good mic, and they can engage you too. He didn't do that. He didn't have boxes with the Reddit thread circled as he just read them out. That is not what he did. Now, he might have had notes, he might have had a script. It doesn't matter. What he did was convey a story through his own eyes, through his words, and not on the fly even necessarily, but I don't know. I've said enough. I disagree with you. You don't agree. Fine.
I thought the narrator, Nathan, took us on a nice, kept you in the classroom. You felt part of what was going off. There's no critique of his narration skills. What he's presenting and why his motivation for presenting it is open to critique. But I think if I sit there neutrally, he was a very, very engaging storyteller. Kept you listened. He weren't taking it off, and you felt part of it. It was well delivered, I thought, outside of the topic.
Yeah, I think on the delivery, he had to play himself, which he did. He had to play the teacher, which he did. And he had to somewhat play the student, which he did. And he just, when I first listened to it, it just seemed like he was never taking the breath, just rambling on. But really, he wasn't taking the breath because he played all 3 parts as if rehearsed, but who knows, maybe not. It just comes off so casual off his lips, off of what 3 different characters in the story are. So I think that's what Nathan is saying, how he did that seamlessly.
Even in the fact that we're discussing it now can only mean that it was good in one respect or another, like it or dislike it. But I don't know. This is something we're going to have to discuss in the after show. So with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. And another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
fucking name!
Let me set something up. Neil deGrasse Tyson's latest podcast with Chris Williamson, he makes a great point. One that probably Nathan knows, but I don't know. But anyways, he says, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're all listening.
Okay. He says, it's not enough to know the information. He said that's half the battle. Of course, I agree with him. He says you have to push it further. He goes on for about, it's the beginning of the podcast with Chris Williamson, but I think it's great information. You know, he says it's not enough to know the information and to sit with it. You have to push the information. And he goes, some people are destroyed in that, and some people will thrive. But, you know, he said it's not enough to sit with the information. And, you know, you have to go beyond your, let's say here, the YouTube channel. You have to go beyond that to push things. But that's just I don't know. I just saw that.
Is that why he doesn't debate flat earthers?
Could be.
He's not pushing the information. He's hiding.
Exactly.
I get that. Is this going to be another really quick round out of the show?
I don't know. You cut the show off right when I was going to have a discussion, and then you cut off the discussion. You didn't say, like, is everyone done because I'm the round off the show. I mean, you got to give us a warning.
Yeah, what's the always looking to escape here? Didn't you have enough time off when your computer was down?
No, I just have a 2-hour show, and over time, it's turned into a 3-hour show, and then it's turned into a 4-hour show, and this, you know, just gets longer and longer.
I agree with you. I like your 2-3 hour show. It doesn't need to go longer, but yeah, 2 hours is fine. But you got to give, before you round off, say, I'm rounding off. Any last comments?
You just
no,
going back to the
4
roots.
to 6
Remember,
hours.
you used to do 2 live shows, right? So you're just going back to the roots.
Right. Used to be 2 shows. I remember.
Hey, he's got seniority. He's got to teach his kids. He's done this for how many years now? He's on the 1,800 plus shows. I mean, give the guy a break. 2 hours is good, but round it off better.
What, when there's as far as I'm concerned, if there's a giant gap, a dead air gap, that's it.
No, but if you say, look, I'm around to show off, any more comments, then if you sense a gap, round it off. But if I was in the middle of talking, you rounded it off again. You do that so many times.
I've always seen a moment of silence like that as a moment of silence for our dearly departed globe. And
What about the thing I posted yesterday with Harvard? There was a lot of good questions on there. You could have went over a couple of those. We went through one question.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can do that Monday.
And I put a video into Master B last night, and it's Brian Cox talking about black holes and other things recently, very recent video. I mean, you could go over that now. Like, you're looking for excuses not to go over it, and then you're making sure we have nothing to talk about. Then you're saying, you're not talking, so we're closing down the show. We're not stupid.
Get him, Brian.
We're on to you, buddy.
All right.
That sounded more of an accusation. We may be on to him, but he still wants a 2-hour show.
He wanted to close down a moment ago.
Well, I know, but as long as we're talking, he can't. So keep talking. That's his guideline. No silence.
I put Theo Fricci's videos into. Oh, go on, Adam. Sorry.
There you go, Adam.
I thought this was worth continuing with what Neil brought last week, because we didn't get to the Nathan Oakley triggering sentences. We mentioned yesterday what they're doing. This is so your students believe the Earth is flat. 10 ways for teachers to address science denial. So that's the first interesting point. These are 2 very different topics. Why are they being conflated into the same thing? The thing that allows us to know the Earth's flat is science. So that was my first point. We went I just want to read the things if I can. So the first one. Here are the top 10 tips for teachers to address science denial with students in the classrooms. Number 1. First, teach your students to value science. No problem with that. I'm not sure. £3.50. Teach them that science is a systemic and reliable way to pose questions and seek answers about the natural world. Its strength lies in scientists' collective willingness to trust the evidence from combined results of many tests and accumulation that builds towards scientific consensus through peer review of research findings. If that's opening what? God.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, the Earth, whatever the Earth is as a baseline, whether it be a circle or a horizontal plane, that's a geometry question. That's a measurement issue.
We're not even on the Earth. We're on about just what science is, right?
Yeah, they've literally wrote out the definition of pseudoscience. There's not one thing in there that's science.
It's an admission. It's an admission that they want you to not go against the Pope, the cardinals, the religious system they've set up. We know better. So again, it's not science. What is this? Scientific consensus? Is scientific method consensus? Peer review? What does that got to do? That's for books. Research findings? Okay, I could live with that one. Trust? Why? When it's empirical, why do I have to trust? Evidence? Well, I'm okay with that one. Natural world? I'm okay with that one. But look how they mix it up.
Well, they're trying to hijack the term science when they call us science deniers. Because when they allude to us being science deniers, and that allows them to hijack the term science. Because it's like the gravity thing with the pencil. That, you know, it's like, I dropped the pencil, so gravity. It's like, no, you haven't proven any of this. This doesn't mean anything. You know, so it's just a hijacking of that's all the globe is. The hijacking of terms, the hijacking of effects, hijacking of measurements.
Yes, Adam, can you please go up to where it says science, right at the top, science denial becomes rampant? No, you had it right. It was on the same page. Yeah, just that. Now, watch this. Science denial has become rampant and deadly in recent years. Okay, let's see how that means. Threatening individual health. Science threatening individual. I wonder if that's related to that thing that we weren't supposed to talk about. Community well-being. Dividing people over the fight about that thing we're not supposed to be talking about. And the life of the planet's environment. Greta Thunberg, we're all going to die. Al Gore, we should have been drowned in the 90s, but we're not. So you see, they've taken it and they've bastardized it, as Brian said.
Well, they hijack every effect they can, every measurement they can, and every term they can to bolster what their religion states it has to be. And that's what they do. And that's what this is. This is from Harvard. Harvard has become an unbelievable joke of a place. And this is not the first thing I've heard from Harvard. Not flat out related, just other things that they've come out with in recent times that show that Harvard is not the institution it may once have been.
None of them are, Brian. They've all been cascading quickly down the cliff because they've left the reason for education. They've changed everything. They're controlling people even more with the even worse narrative today. The people come out of school with no knowledge of the proper English, writing skills, arithmetic, history. They don't even know what sex they are now when they come out of school.
Yeah, it's sad that an institution with such a respected name has become such a farce. But then again, what I will say is that even at one time when they were teaching something in their learning, they were still also teaching rubbish that wasn't true, based on heliocentrism.
Well,
I have no doubt.
No, that's for sure. The whole education. I told I never went to college except for that one stint for my mom. But all my associations and family members who have kids are spending thousands and thousands of dollars sending them to these colleges. I'm saying that's a big mistake. They go, why? And I start explaining why. I go, well, let's go back. Why do you think I homeschooled? Okay, so why am I going to continue after homeschooling to send them to another camp of indoctrination? You know what's going to happen at the colleges, don't you? And I explained to them what's going to happen. And then sure enough, everything I said comes true. Every single thing. And they say, oh my God, we spent 40 grand, or we got a park scholarship, or, you know, some of these bigger schools are over 100 grand. And so it's just more indoctrination upon indoctrination to control the society. That's all these schools are about. Now, you can learn things there. Certain things you have to go to school for, you know, chemistry and, you know, different things. And if you're studying law, you got to take a bunch of these courses in law. But you have to take all this other stuff, which is there to program you while you get that one thing that you really want. And there's certain things you can't do unless you go to university. But you better be well equipped to fight the lies if you're going to be that guy.
Well, the thing about it is that is that these days, I think the only people that should be going to universities are people who are forced to do it because they want to become an engineer or a chemist or whatever. Because other than that, like these places are getting ridiculous. I know in the US, if not other places, you have deprogramming systems at work where parents are paying crazy money on a weekly basis for their kid who has been in university to be deprogrammed from what they were teaching them in university. Like that's if that's actually happening right now. It's right now today that stuff is happening. And if we go back to the last video that we listened on the live show with that guy Connor Boggs talking about that teacher, like that teacher was starting that programming right there and then. So the deprogramming was really happening on this show, you know, and anyone else who's speaking like us, because that's where the real deprogramming is starting. Because they can try and deprogram what someone learns in university, but what about all the rubbish they were taught in high school and junior school? What this teacher from earlier, he wants to teach his kids in the class about a force of gravity, even though he is fully aware, because he was taught, fully aware that gravity is not a force. So besides gravity not being real, he wants to teach him the wrong version of it, because he wants to instill it into them in some, you know, so it seems to have some physicality to it, or it relates to their real world somehow. And then later on, they switch that gravity out with the gravity of bending in space-time. You know, so that's when it starts. It starts right there with the teachers when the kids are young, trying to force them into learning rubbish. You know, bringing in the physics teacher.
Wait till the kids start telling the teachers, yo, that's the old and busted. That's old and busted, bro. You gotta move on to the new hotness.
What about snacks in the back?
Look.
Yeah, after they welcome them to Flat Earth, sure.
No, I want to hear it. I want to hear the whole snacks in the back routine.
What do you mean? Welcome to Flat Earth. Snacks in the back, bathrooms to the left. DJs playing requests. Smoke them if you got them.
That's the one. That's the one.
That's the one.
I can read 2 and 3 together. I think that's probably the best. So, number 2 is to cultivate a scientific attitude. At the heart of scientific thinking is an openness to new evidence and a willingness to change one's mind in light of new evidence. Educators will also recognize it as a cornerstone of critical thinking, relevant in all fields and highly valued in classrooms. Acknowledge it when you see it expressed in discussions. I see how you've changed your mind when you found that out. Number 3, teachers not only want scientists, not only what scientists know, but what they know. Students are often taught the scientific method as the sole means by which scientists test claims. Ouch. Through controlled studies in labs, this impression makes it difficult to understand how sciences such as astronomy may rely more on observations than experiments, broaden their awareness in various fields of sciences and the process by which scientists know. That's the biggest faux pas for me so far.
It's a total admission.
Yeah. No, I get you.
Yeah, you got him back into the race. Good man, Adam.
I'll read it again. This impression makes it difficult to understand how sciences, such as astronomy, may rely more on observation than experiment. That sums it up. That's the open admission of what's going on and what you're being asked to believe is science.
Yeah, they just told you that astronomy is not science. Or you should believe it is because we're telling you to believe it. They just told you why. Go on, Nick. Go on, Neil.
No, I was agreeing with you. That's what it sounds like to me.
Point 4 is going to example it quite nice as to what they're claiming is science and what is science. So 4, address misconceptions about science. In our own research, we have found that individuals often assume that unless scientists know something with complete certainty, the findings are dismissed as not trustworthy. For example, although 98% of climate scientists think that climate change is largely caused by human activities, only 57% of the public share that view.
How is that? How is that certainty? What?
Scientists, right? So this is the point. 98, irrespective of the percent, even if it was 100, yeah. What's the claim? Climate scientists think that climate change is largely not. Here is some empirical evidence. Here's a cause and effect relationship.
Yeah, there's none of that. It's a certain percentage of these claimed scientists think. You know, how can they, if that, you know, you have effects supposedly to show us cause, not doing it.
You had the debacle of 2,000 emails that were vetted out and found to be collusion and lies about climate change. And that's when they changed global. What's the current rhetoric? Global warming or
climate change? Yeah,
yeah.
It used to be global warming. Now it's climate change.
Yeah. So when it was global warming, there was this event in Europe, and the emails got exposed, and they were in collusion of changing their findings, and it just took a big giant step back. So when they came back out again, it became climate change. And so why would you have 2,000 emails all messed with, showing that you didn't have the science, but you wanted people to believe you did? It's because there's climate scientists? Like, what in the world?
Climate scientists don't need...
Bro, Al Gore just came out last week still talking about the ocean's about to start boiling and shit. It's like, bro, this guy's out of his mind.
Al Gore.
His mind. Yes,
Al Gore
was like 70 something, still talking that nonsense at his WEF conference over there.
Chocolate,
straight nonsense.
Chocolate, follow the money. Al Gore established a company, one of the partners in the company that sells the carbon credits that you could buy in advance for a lower fee when this whole thing gets instituted on mankind. Follow the money.
That's why I said he needs more money.
Well, we just have to go back to the origins of all of this, which was a claim in a claimed ozone layer, right? Now, this happened supposedly over Antarctica, and that place we can't verify the existence of, really, can we? You know, can you verify Antarctica, as they say it is, whether it's at the base of the bottom of a globe or circling a flat Earth? Can you prove the existence of this place?
Not with ice cold proof,
can.
Brian.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, not the real proof. not the actual proof. I can't prove that. But anyway, this hole in this ozone layer that was claimed to happen over this region, right? If you look into that claim, you look into how much ozone is actually claimed by NASA to be there at that height. And then you look into what destroys ozone, what other gases like bromine and others destroy and take ozone apart, because ozone is three oxygen atoms. So what takes that apart? And then you look into how much gas is actually up there at that, like as in what pressure of gas, what density of gas is actually up there at the 22 miles up, which is where the ozone layer is meant to be. It's the thickest portion of the ozone layer is 22 miles up. You look into how much gas is up there, and how much gas, let's say O2, is available to become O3. Because O2 has to be photodissociated from H2O for that process to even start. So you look into all that and you find out that they have absolutely nothing. Because at the pressure that it would be at 22 miles up, it's so low that the pressure is so low that the amount of ozone, which is only maybe Adam could give it a good description of this for the public, which is 15 parts per million, right? That's what NASA claim is the amount of ozone within all the gases at that height, right? 15 parts per million. That is the amount of ozone that's there. If you take the pressure into account, right? How many, let's just say as a calculation, how many atoms of gas are within 1 cubed meter at that height? Layer could be like a speck of dust in one speck of dust in an empty warehouse, nearly. You know what I mean? That's how much ozone would be there. The whole warehouse, out of the whole warehouse, there might be 1 or 5 specks of ozone. It's just a complete farce. So that's where they don't go back to that. Go on, Ed.
None of that is science, is it? And I think that was the point I was trying to make. Whether what you're saying is true, whether it's whatever percentage, none of that is science. And I just want to go back to point 1, because this is the point they're trying to mug us off with. Its strength lies in scientists' collective willingness to trust the evidence from combined results of many tests, an accumulation that builds towards scientific consensus through peer review of research findings. This is what they're trying to pass off as science. And then this is the next bit, number 5. I should just call it feelings, I think, Chalk. So, acknowledge emotions as part of learning, not something to keep at bay. Many students were upset and angry when Pluto was demoted to a dwarf planet. Not science. The issue of climate change may prompt anxiety, which needs attention for learning to occur. We're conflating learning and science here. Consider the range of emotions involved. Address negative ones and foster positive ones. What's negative? What's positive? It's either true or false if we're talking science. We're not talking science. We're talking rhetoric here, aren't we? How to believe a certain paradigm, whether it's climate change or whatever. It's not about finding the science. It's about easing emotions now and making sure you're not upsetting people, prompting anxiety.
I love the way
it's a manual for indoctrination.
Dr. Adam.
I heard that climate change is caused by racism. That's the new thing.
It used to be hairspray.
You think I'm kidding? You know I'm not.
No, it used to be hairspray.
Wait a second.
I mean,
no, that's the ozone layer.
Same difference.
The ozone layer was for the hairspray thing.
That's
yeah,
what we're talking about.
any aerosol cans for the ozone. But what do you mean, Chocolate? You're not kidding around. That's for real? Racism has caused it? Oh, okay.
No,
yeah. That checks out.
Yeah, it's real black and white.
Why did nobody ask what's an ozone layer?
Oh,
right? I mean, oh yeah, we all took it for granted. The ozone layer, what? A layer of gas that is separated from the rest in order to do something?
Brian just outlined that what the ridiculousness of the claim is, according to NASA there. But like I said, even so, it's not science. And if I go to number 7, sorry, number 6, just want to remind of the title. We got the flat earth. 10 ways for teachers to address science denial. So number 6, you think this is going to be good? Help students learn to evaluate scientific information they read online. Just have the examples. Whether a 4th grader is investigating if dinosaurs lived at the same time as humans, or a high school student is trying to learn more about sex, they are likely to seek information online and are typically ill-equipped to evaluate what they read. Wow. They're so dumb, they can't tell what's right and wrong. Build information literacy skills into every research assignment. Teach algorithmic literacy. Students often erroneously believe that the top hits in a search are more reliable and valid, unaware that an unseen proprietary formula is selecting the units. My point here is, you should be able to use science to determine whether there's validity in the claim, not what are they saying? What are they using to give credence to any claim? As far as I can see, it's going to go back to scientific consensus.
Adam, the title of the paper is, so your student believes in the earth is flat, and then the subtitle underneath that is 10 ways for teachers to address science denial. I have not heard one thing about earth being flat and why it's not. I've only heard protection verbiage on science denial. Not real science denial, but pseudoscience denial. It's consensus driven now.
Well, I would say that they wouldn't have even added in the term scientific method and addressed that at all within this if we didn't exist. I reckon that is a direct result of us and any other people out there. When I say us, obviously QE is the driving force behind that, but us as his, I don't know what way to describe us, but you know, we learned from him about that. And it's like, so because there is people out there like us who are driving this point home, they had to address it. They had to put it in there. And then try and say, but astronomy is still science, even though they don't use and they can't use the scientific method. Yeah, I wonder why he decided to put that in there. I wonder why he decided to address something that is claimed to be science that is not, after he addressed scientific method. I wonder what was it that caused that. They may not have heard us, but they've heard other people who have heard us, or people who've heard them.
I think it's more of an umbrella effect that subtitle said, so your student believes, 10 ways for teachers to address science denial. So the whole thing is to get us under their control and power with pseudoscience. And anytime you disagree with the medical community about the vaccine, it's science denial. If you disagree with global warming, it's science denial. If you disagree with the earth being a globe, it's science denial. So they want us to think that anyone who mentions the word science, and you go against anyone who says the word science that works for the government school system, that word has been vetted out as true, and you're just denying the truth. The way
Oh, what a day. What a lovely
Welcome
day.
to Flat Earth Debate Members Only Live. Now, if you're watching this after the fact and you're not a member and you're new to the channel, then be sure to subscribe or become a member so you can watch these things in advance. But we are actually in the middle of a live stream, or uncut and after show, I should say, and I'm going to transition across that for the members only. Hopefully, so I can test a few little bits and bobs on my computer, and obviously, all of the live members can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is in the live stream and Discord servers. So I'll pass over to them now.
Competing ideas. So once again, I've no real problems with this. This sounds a bit like medicine to me, but what it isn't is science.
Adam, can you scroll down the page until I ask you to pause?
So I'm done. Oh,
that's it. No,
yeah.
Right there. No, go back. Stand up for Mother Earth. Thank you. Read that, please. The do's and don'ts.
The do's and don'ts of empowering young children in the face of climate change.
Stand up for Mother Earth. They don't believe in the Heavenly Father, but being materialist, there's a Mother Earth. And now this crap about climate change. Notice where this is all going.
Well, again, to me, that's the point. Wherever you apply it, they're allowing consensus opinion, peer review of probabilities and opinions to be expressed as science, which is by definition pseudoscience. Seems to be their main direction of what the teachers, if they spot science denial, which appears to be a pseudonym for not accepting the rhetoric, then these are how you deal with it, how they're thinking. And this seems to be the route that the teachers are being advised to deal with how the students think.
Go back to that paragraph at the start that I asked you to read. Science, at the top, science denial has become rampant. Okay, well, we want to stop that. And deadly. Wow, we definitely got to stop that. In recent years, threatening individual health, really, community well-being, and the life of the planet's environment. Stand up for Mother Earth. You say something about my mama? Don't be saying anything about my mama. It's nonsense.
I'll read 9 and 10 and then we're done. All right. So number 9, foster healthy skepticism. Such skepticism, no doubt or resistance, is a critical part of both the scientific process and consumer awareness. Help students wary of clickbait headlines. Chocolate cures cancer. Do you choc? Respect, bro. And individual studies yet to be corroborated. They can learn to be especially suspicious of campaigns designed to foster doubt in scientific findings funded by vested interests. I mean, this is just
that's
projection at a level.
That's us that's trying to
projection.
Yeah.
Pure projection.
Vested interest.
Exactly. Number 10, be aware of your broad and lasting impact as a teacher. I won't disagree with that. Scientific thinking is critical for all students. What's scientific thinking? Not just those who want to become scientists. Help all students, regardless of their career paths, learn to think scientifically and appreciate the scientific expertise. That means, like Newspeak, appreciate scientific expertise. With your help, they can become citizens who can contribute. Oh my God, this is like communist rhetoric.
Right, it's science.
With your help, they can become citizens and can contribute to public dialogue from an informed, evidence-based, brainwashed stance and make decisions about their own health and well-being for years to come. They're well programmed to fit the rhetoric. Right, I'll stop rambling. Oh, there you go.
INSOC. This is just 9084. Yeah, it is communist rhetoric. Just indoctrination.
I got a slide in Master D. If you could post that, Adam, if we're done with this, for Brian and for all of us to see something.
Hold on. The one funny thing I find about that while you're getting the slide, it started out about Earth being flat, and it went into calling anybody that believes in flat Earth, science deniers. That's funny to me when it falls outside of science, the nature of our reality as far as Earth being a sphere or flat. Funny.
We got Mother Earth and Mother Russia.
1 second, Tim.
Sounds to me like part. Sorry, Brian. Go
on, Chocolate. I'll go after you. Go on, Chocolate.
No, I was just gonna say it sounds to me like part 2 of article How to Debate a Flat Earth. This is like part 2. Let's try to cover the science part.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Even though science has nothing to do with it, but hey, let's go there because that's what we use as the crutch to try to hold this heliocentric, nonsensical religion together. So let's do that. Great.
Yep.
Sounds to me like flat Earth debate has big institutions like Harvard under serious pressure.
I agree, Brian. I'm with you, baby.
Yeah, because this is where that backlash started. When Kiwi started talking about scientific method back in 2016 in this arena, this is where that backlash started. And he came on to Nathan's, and since then he's been a mainstay on Nathan's, and he has his own show and everything. So obviously we have to give him the praise for that. But it started here, regardless of anyone else anywhere else in the world in the past couple of 2-3 years who've actually started looking into what science really is because of deceptions. It started here. So Harvard is under pressure. This great supposed institution that has a history behind it is under pressure from a YouTube show. That's the real truth of it, whether they want to admit it or not.
Okay. That's the only truth I've heard today, Brian.
Adam, can you slide from you, 10th? If I can just interrupt, guys, just no slide appeared from you yet. Where
it's a Master D. It's a Master D.
Where? Far back. I've got nothing. Ah, little cartoon. Is that it? 325.
It would be after 325 because he just posted it, I think, a moment ago.
I've got nothing in there then. You just check first, Tam.
So, gentlemen, on this topic, at what point can mathematics?
Somebody talk, or Nathan will round out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to.
No, we're all good.
Let's just talk about.
I should really tell you this. Hold on. Sorry to interrupt.
Talking about this issue.
Just 1 sec.
Hold
on.
It's only a while ago.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
got it now.
Right.
It's only a while ago.
So let's all talk at the same time instead.
I just want to tell you something.
Okay, Adam, you should.
No, I'm never going to get the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah, we are live to members. Just
we have our moments of silence now. I'm going to have to start calling it out.
Just start rapping, Chocolate, or something. Drop some bars. Fill the silence.
All right.
Why would they lie?
So you see the slide, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I see it.
Here's a flight.
I've got the live stream on mute.
From New York to Paris. Charles Lindbergh. Charles Lindbergh.
Sorry.
The paradox, you know what paradox means, of the Great Circle. If the Earth were flat, a ruler line would be the shortest distance between 2 points. But on the surface of a globe, a curved line is. Hence, the northward, I can't see it there. I go back to my slide myself. Hence, the northward swing of Lindbergh and the other transatlantic flyer. So you see that dotted line is a straight line, and the Great Circle route is vertically above it because they think they live on a curved surface. It's not veering, it's directly above it. So if you were to be above Lindbergh looking down, Lindbergh's curved line would be covering the dotted line.
Well, yes and no. Well, yes. See, that dotted line is on the universal transversal cable. That's what's called the what's the name? The Rum line, right? That is the universal. That's on the universal transverse Mercator. So if you were to look at that on, like, because we see it in 2D, it looks like that curved line is over that straight line. What would have to happen is you'd have to straighten out that curved line, which would cause the positions to slightly change, the positions of the continents in relation to each other to slightly change. Because what they're doing is they're constantly using flight routes that they want to call great circle routes, but there isn't one great circle route that's used, right? Because they try and call the equator a great circle route, right? That's only because on their globe it would be, but nobody uses it. Nobody flies or sails the equator. Nobody flies or sails that route. Nobody. So the thing about it is what they're doing is just hijacking horizontal straight line routes. That's what they're doing with great circles, great circle distances, because not one great circle route can be converted to just a horizontal line and not work. There's not one of them. There's not one great circle route that can't just be straightened out and it'd be work exactly the same. Not one. It's total rubbish. It's just
that's not the argument.
Yeah, the straight line distance they're talking about is their straight line on a globe or on the it's been a while, guys. I've been away. But the dotted line is a line of longitude. Hey, what's up? That's a line of longitude, right? Or latitude.
Well, the straight line is a line of longitude, or is a, well, it may not be exactly a line of longitude, but it's similar.
Right.
Look, New York to Paris is not north-south; it's west-east. So this is more latitude, but crossing at an angle on it. The point I'm trying to make here, and I'll do it after John's done. Go on.
Well, I got them mixed up, but anyway, latitude, straight line. I don't see where you get the straight dotted line because that's not how a sphere works. This is a invalid drawing.
Well, that's the point of the.
You got to mix a little bit of that reality in with the lie, brother. You know, that's how a true lie works. You got to mix a little bit of truth with it, just to wash it down.
That's the point I'm trying to make with this illustration, and the point Brian's been making for a while is, and it's stuff that you can read if you just type in great circle and run lines and stuff. Go to the images and start looking at the images. They've always shown it orthographically and in this curve. I'll show you another picture that will kind of show you a similar thing that they want you to believe. But in reality, when you're flying an airplane, and Brian, you've done this so many times so well, there's no pitch data for us to see for that airplane making the corrections on this distance. Because they're flying level, because the plane has to be nose up, and other than ascent and descent, the plane is at a level flight at a certain altitude over the water or land. And so this picture is so powerful because really a curved great circle route is really nothing more than an imagining that you're on a globe. They're actually flying the dotted line.
Well, you go on, Chocolate.
Nah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick. No, you shared an image the other day in Master B or Master D, and it showed that. See, this is something. It showed what a great circle route would be if you were to go from South Africa to I think it's New Zealand. Right, and what that would be, right? So the tip of South Africa to New Zealand, and it would go over part of what they call Antarctica, right? Now, the thing about that is, what they will say, they start coming up with rubbish as to why they don't do this, right? Why they don't go from Sydney across Antarctica to Santiago? Why they don't go from South America, you know, to South Africa to New Zealand across Antarctica? Blah blah blah, right? They try and say, oh, it's too cold it's minus where the planes fly. If it's minus 52 degrees, minus 52 degrees at 10 miles up, right? It's going to be minus 40, maybe minus 35 or 40, or maybe I don't know what it is. At 6, I tried looking for this information. I couldn't get it, what the exact temperature was. At about 6 miles up. What they're doing there is hoodwinking you, because whatever happens with weather on the ground, right, has nothing to do with what's happening 6 miles up. So it could be very hot or very cold in some place. Like you could fly over, when you're flying over a desert, is it too hot? When you're flying over Nevada, is it too hot to fly over Nevada? No. Do you know what I mean? It's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? Because it's still the same, because up where they fly what's known as the free air. Up where they fly, there isn't weather. There is very little weather, and you know, it's basically the same temperature throughout for the whole world. Go on,
Brian. Why would you expect them to actually think that they can fly this vehicle that was made to fly in cold weather to fly in cold weather? Why would you expect that?
Yeah,
come on, be reasonable.
You worked at an airport for a long time. You know the planes fly in cold conditions all the time. That's how they're designed. When you're flying up, no matter where you're flying to, you always have icicles on the windows. Why? Because it's freezing cold outside. You know, it's total nonsense. Where they fly in that place intentionally because they don't have to deal with loads of weather and changes in temperatures. They don't have to deal with loads of it because there might be some minimal, but go on.
I feel like that excuse is one of those. Quick, just say something. Oh, we don't make those flights because it's too cold. Yeah, because that's what that sounds like. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. And they have a part two to the claim. When the other one is, and this is what heliocentrism is great at, putting out 2 and 3 different reasons and people parroting off these reasons, but you might parrot one reason, Chocolate, I might parrot another reason, and Nathan parrots another reason again, but none of us are aware of the other 2 reasons. One of the other things they say is, oh, there's not many people living south of the equator, so it makes more sense for all the flights to go north. It's like, no, if I'm flying directly from Sydney to Santiago, right, and I'm on a globe, it makes no sense to go north. I should be going directly south. Do you know what I mean? If I'm going from Sydney to Santiago, I should be going directly south, or south, southwest, and towards Santiago. I should not be going north at any point. Why would I be doing that?
Nope. Because they're trying to do direct flights. Every airport, they try to do direct flights. Why? Because they're trying to save on fuel, right? So they're not going to just go out of their way unless they're actually trying to burn fuel, which does happen sometimes, right? There are times when they have to, they put them in a holding pattern and they got to go around just in case something happens. I've seen that scenario happen in my old job. But for the most part, nah, it's direct flights.
Yeah, it makes, I mean, just for people to ask the question out there, because I looked into this. I haven't looked in very recent times, but I did look last year, and I did look the year before and the year before that. I cannot find a direct flight between Sydney and Rio. Now, Rio is a massive international city. It would definitely be as big and bigger than Santiago, right? 2 big cities. Why is it impossible to get a direct flight to Rio? Because I know for a fact that in Sydney, there's a big Brazilian population in the Bondi area. Why would you, there's a lot of Brazilian tourists go there. Why would you not have a direct flight to, why would you not have a direct flight to Rio? If you can have a direct flight to Santiago, why can't you get a direct flight from Sydney to Mexico City? You can't. Why can't you do all these things?
Hold on, Chocolate.
Go.
You're talking about fuel. I heard that planes do not use fuel at all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say, brother?
Just pretend.
I heard planes don't use fuel at all.
We heard the first time. Pretend Neil's not here, Chocolate.
All right. Thanks.
Adam, there's 2 more. Adam, there's 2 more. Adam, I sent you another slide, and one is also coming as we speak. You go to the next slide.
You know what I wanted to
I
mention
find
real.
that offensive.
You know what I wanted to mention real quick with your slide, man. All that stuff is cool that you were talking about. My only problem with it is, how is that plane making it to its destination when its destination is probably moving away from the plane faster than the plane is capable of moving?
Correct.
Just my question.
Yeah, that's the other problems. But if you look at the slide that Adam's got up, that red curved line is really their imagination that is vertically over the green run line. They just show it this way to make you think that you live on the globe. Now go to the next slide, Adam. I think this might help get your guys' opinion on it. So there's a great circle route because they think they live on a globe. And so you can see the left picture, and they're assuming they live on a globe. It's obvious. It's the northern hemisphere there, it looks like. And then to the right, it says this is the results on the Mercator map. But in the previous picture with Lindbergh, it's a straight shot, that dotted line. So it's all like when I've read and seen things, I've actually read, I can't find it right now, it's been a while. He says, if you look at a great circle route top down, it's a straight line. It looks like a straight line because they think that curves are straight lines on the globe.
But
This
yeah, but
is
see, this
the
is
nonsense.
Sorry.
No, I'm done.
But this is the truth of it, what those two little pictures are. Where the great circle is shown, there's a little bit of bend in it, right? Because they have to put it, because they're trying to say it's on a globe. But all that is a straight line. The results on the Mercator to the right of it there, that is the same thing as they do with the circles of equal latitude. They mutate the distances and mutate the measurements. And you end up with, if you're talking about using flight, you end up with this. Because the universal transverse Mercator is the great mutator of all distances and measurements for them. And that allows them to then back calculate what's just a straight line or just a circle onto and into their globe. And that's what it is. I mean, why use the universal transverse Mercator? Why use that when you could easily have a map that's just a flat map of the world that will work just as good, even if they wanted to turn it into a globe?
That's the point I wanted to make. If you plot that same, remember this is a Mercator map. Look, the edges don't, east and west don't join up. Turn it into a polar coordinate map like the Gleason's map, and then that bendy result on the Mercator will be a straight line between A and B on a polar coordinate map.
Exactly, Adam. I posted because this is where I was going to with my longitudinal reassignment video, because the point I'm making is that all you have to do is correct the longitude positions south of the equator mainly of everywhere. You know, the latitudes will probably stay similar mostly, but the longitudes, just correct them for what they should be, and everything will work perfect. And they could do that very easy, but they won't.
Sorry, Brian. Adam, one last picture, please. You went off too quick.
I'm just trying to find something myself on set.
No problem.
Let me know when you've done.
No, Chocolate's point is the biggest point, because not only are we talking about circle routes that are really straight paths that they want to imagine because they think they live on the globe, but their globe that they're imagining must be rotating at a faster speed than the airplane's miles per hour. So how's it ever getting to a place if it's going with the turn? And if it's going against the turn, it should get there sooner because the help of the turning Earth coming towards it, and none of that is experienced. So the whole thing is done just by that. So there's so many ways the globe dies.
But this is the thing. This is why they claim there is that you are conserving momentum, right? Conserving the linear momentum of your latitude when you leave an airport. This is what they claim. So they explain away, right, ridiculously, it's rubbish, why there's no east to west deviation, right? Now, there would be. If we were really on a rotating globe, there would be. What they're claiming is rubbish, just for the audience. But this is why they keep the deviation north to south. And there's a calculated deviation that would and should happen if we were on a rotating globe between latitudes. Whereas, this is why when I did my videos on the London to Accra flight, I did my best not to mention Coriolis or anything else, because they want you to have a big argument with them about what Coriolis really is, and that you never get to the flights that aren't deviating, right? You end up having an argument with them because they're claiming something is Coriolis when it's not Coriolis. And you can have a whole 2-hour argument with them about what Coriolis really is, and you'll still never get to the point of pointing out to the audience that these flights are not deviating. London to Accra is just over 3,000 miles. I think it's 3,100 or something like that. And it takes 6.5 hours. If we were on a rotating globe, right, Accra would be in a position 6.5 hours after the flight leaves London, where that would cause the flight to have to cover over 6,000 miles in 6.5 hours. That's the truth of it. If the globe existed, not only would the planes have to deal with the drop and pitch change, which they don't do, but they also would have to deal with this deviation if they're flying north to south or south to north. There's no way around it. So when you leave London, 6.5 hours later to get to Accra, you have to travel over. You'd have to be traveling over 900 miles an hour to get there, and you wouldn't be able to go south. You would have to go east.
I don't see how sorry, Brian, but I don't see how just using north and south helps them. I mean, if you're traveling from north to south, you still have to speed up to get to your destination, because your destination again is rotating away from you. Still have to do the same thing.
Can we help them out with this rhetoric a little bit, and instead of it being a claim of angular momentum and linear momentum, we just invent a new momentum to conserve and call it like orbital momentum, and maybe that'll help them out a little bit and just get Coriolis out of the rhetoric.
Yeah, because that's what they want to do. They want to have an argument with you about what Coriolis really is. And we can prove to them what Coriolis really is and explain it and demonstrate it. And they'll still try and come back with their nonsense and convolute it with the conservation of momentums and different stupid nonsense like that. When all the while, the actual evidence is in the flights. Or, I remember doing this with George Netchuk live on Ranties back in 2018. I know the man is dead now, but he was there at the time, and he disproved his own claim mathematically. He proved there was no deviation. I remember Randy laughing his head off.
Chocolate's point needs a little more, because it's good. When you're dealing with the stupidity of snipers having to account for Earth turn, right? Well, that's basically what Chocolate is saying. So if you got a northbound flight going to south, kind of like your Accra flight, the Earth is turning, so you got to aim way east in your flight path, because when you arrive, Accra is there. It's the same as the sniper thing. You got to aim away from your target by the amount of Earth rotation that would take a long shot, say 2.5 seconds to get to target. So you figure out what latitude you're in, you figure out what the Earth is spinning at, then you say, okay, how many feet per second is that spinning rate? So it's 800 miles per hour divided into that, and you say, oh, I gotta aim like 2,400. I'm just guessing here, 2,400 feet away from my target, and then I'll shoot. And then when the bullet gets there, the target will have gotten there simultaneously. Oh my gosh!
Where in reality you would have killed some mother and child.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's what would have happened in reality.
Well, hold on. Because refraction would be distorting where that image is, so it would be refracting into the place that you're aiming that it's not where you see. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, you index of refraction into account.
Brilliant.
Right. Refraction cancels out Coriolis, just so you guys know.
The scope of that argument is wonderful.
It's a hard hitter.
Don't you dare end the show on that good pun, Nathan.
And
Stop the puns. Stop the puns. He's only itching to end the show.
Oh yeah, he got super chat puns today, and he says good job. But then when we do it, he cuts the show off.
Just for the record, you could never make believe I'm not here.
That's for sure.
Just ignore him, Ted.
Who said that?
Adam, that's classic, boy. You deserve
that. Adam, go to your picture. Never got to your verbiage on your picture, please. I'm waiting.
I'll just quickly, with regards to this one, I said, if you imagine putting this onto a polar coordinate, this is the Urbana Monte map, a really old one, but it serves the purpose. So we're flying from North America to Rome or whatever. Look, it's a straight line, and that's all that's happening here with these lines when you try to place them onto a Mercator projection, and it's the same whether you put it on a polar system or onto what Thames done now, which is the ball. It becomes a straight line.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's all it is. I mean, they hide the true, let's say, dimensions and distances between continents and countries with great circle routes, because they're either using that direct north-south route or they're using a junction between between two great circle routes, which are just two longitude lines. That's all. They're just connecting them up like a spider web. And if you look at the Gleason's map, the latitude and longitude grid is fine. That doesn't need to change. That's exactly as it should be. That's how it was measured. It's a flat two-dimensional grid. That's what it is. That's how it was measured. It's supposed to be like that. All that's wrong with that map is the stretching of Australia and South America, South Africa. Those kind of things. That's all that's wrong there. Realign that, and everything will be fine.
Just because I haven't done it in a while, I gotta ask: are there any Globers in Discord that think we're a bunch of crazy fruitcakes here, just talking, and want to tell us how planes are actually navigating around a magical spinning water ball?
Yeah, who's in Discord? Why is nobody fishing anymore?
I mean, just want to let them know we haven't forgotten about them if they're still out there. They still exist.
By the way, Brian, is there any evidence of the Great Circle route? Isn't that a housekeeping question now? Has anybody came with evidence?
Is there any evidence the Great Circle routes are actually circles? No. I got nothing. Absolutely nothing. From commercial pilots, from supposed naval navigators, nothing.
No, that's the whole point of my reading, is that when you look at a Great Circle route top down, it's right over, it's a straight route, but they think they're at this curve, so they call it a straight route, a Great Circle route. I mean, it's just in the imagination.
So didn't that guy, that navigator on the ship, didn't he point out that yeah, on the map, which is the Mercator map, it's a curved line, but in reality it's just straight?
Yep.
It's all a deception then. They're deceiving the masses with verbiage.
But why would they lie?
I have to ask talk with that.
You guys ever notice that once you hear an argument, you start to hear it more and more? It's kind of like puns, too. I was wondering if that's something, or is it just my reticular activation system going off?
Are you saying
that's your
like
reticular activation system?
Are you saying like if I had a Ford Escape, all of a sudden I'm noticing Ford Escapes everywhere?
Exactly.
And what's that got to do? And what's that got to do with puns?
Somebody will get it eventually, but I can't say because I'm not allowed to say my puns. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a master punsmith.
I would love to go into a pun off with you.
That would be something. AI.
Hey, 10th man against AI and pun off. Will AI win or 10th man win?
10th man, you're punt man.
I mean, I'll come in first. You'll come in 10th. So there you go.
There we go. Perfect. That was brilliant.
I'd switch my hypothalamus off, Overlord, so I hadn't caught that pun.
Oh, okay.
First game with
I was
Yeah. You've got to have one. Better to have it fitted.
Don't
that must
mind
be the 2023 deluxe version.
Chocolate. Don't mind. Gosh, I can't even get in a good pun. Don't mind chocolate. Don't mind AI and Adam on that last one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, hypothalamus is actually the celebration of your ancestors coming from rocks.
Really?
That's great. Very good. And the Beatles sang a tribute. The Beatles sang a tribute, my Michelle.
Oh. Hey, let me ask you a question, because I don't go to Discord much, but are they still talking about that, what's that little word they kept throwing out there? Ether? Have we destroyed that? Or have they still been talking about it?
Well, I don't know. They either or talking about that, or they're talking about something else. I'm not sure.
It's in the queue to be respawned. You just got to wait, Neil.
Nice one.
How long?
From what I've noticed, it's about a 6 month.
Neil, how did the particle get down the light stream?
Yeah.
What was that?
Wow. How did the particle get down the light stream?
Travel.
It used an ether ore.
Wow. That argument will float well.
No, it's interesting that they were screaming about it, and now it's just silence. Very good job by the Flat Earth debate team.
As Refracted said, they're only just what I talked about this with somebody on the after show yesterday, the after show. No, what Refracted said is what's happening, except for what's going to happen is every 6 months they want to bring it back, right? Or every year they want to try and bring it back. But what's happening is because they know they're going to meet such backlash here and there with us. I reckon that what's going on is they're trying to create a little Aetheroid army somewhere else on a different platform. Right? Somewhere, maybe one of these Rumble or TikTok, one of these kind of things. That's what they're at. Or some Discord server that we're not aware of. That's what they're trying to do. Because they already tried to do that. They already tried to create a little army and it was quashed. And now they're going to try another rebellion, the Great Ether Rebellion.
Yeah, great. Sounds like a Star Wars series coming up. But the problem with that is we have them on audio disagreeing with each other. Bob saying science has proved it. Jaron saying science doesn't prove anything. Wits it somewhere in between. And the other guy saying one day science will prove it. It just hasn't proven it yet. So they lost so many subscribers by calling this show and our Nathan a scammer that it has hurt them. They're not going to admit they lost subscribers, but they're going to go silent because they lost subscribers. That's what actually happened.
I think there's a bit more than that going off. I noticed P-Brain pointing out that Jaren's banned him again, blocked him. There appears to be another war going off, which is a lot of the intelligent flat earthers on the American side. I think there's a few others as well that are having real issues with Jaren attacking the Bible as well. It's a very strange situation that's going off there as well. There's a lot of arguments on that side as well. It's an interesting thing to watch. It's
and it doesn't actually help
ignorance.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't help Jaren's case that when he speaks about matters of the Bible, he's absolutely ignorant. I mean, it's quite sad and painful to watch, to be honest. I feel sorry for him.
Isn't Jaren supposed to be disproving the globe with his big platform? Isn't that what he's supposed to be doing? Not having arguments with people about the Bible or harping on about science and things like that he doesn't understand. He's supposed to be disproving the globe. That's what he was supposed to be doing. Am I wrong about that?
Was he?
No, you're 100% right.
What, like I'm supposed to have a 4-hour show and things like that?
He doesn't. He's not supposed to be doing anything. I wasn't saying he shouldn't be doing that. I said it's interesting that he seems to have picked another fight with lots of, let's say, respected flat earthers on, and he's arguing about Christianity fundamentally in the Bible. I think as Overlord's noticed as well, he's arguing from ignorance. It is cringy, really, watching the responses as people deal with these claims.
Jared was good at one thing.
The parallels are uncanny because the same level of ignorance he demonstrated in science is identical to the level of ignorance when it comes to Christianity. But there we go.
Jared was good at one thing, and that's the NASA debunk videos. That's about it. After that, I don't know, because everything else doesn't seem to jive.
Well, I heard him years ago being able to research things and being able to show on screen the writings and everything, being able to do all the things he was supposed to be able to do, and he was not able to do them anymore.
I think Nathan hit it right on the head. It's his ignorance in the matter, in the subject, so this is what happens.
Well, so one of the things Jaron did very well is compile that 200 quotes video where it talks about key times in the scientific endeavors where people chose philosophy, right, over the conclusions of the evidence, right? Or sometimes you could take two paths and they just chose one over the other. There's tons of quotes. The main reason why they all chose those paths is because they didn't like the philosophical implications of where the evidence was leading. And many flat earthers are in the same position now, where they start to realize that this evidence is leading towards certain conclusions that they don't want to countenance.
That's what I'm saying. How can you put out a video like that and then become the same thing you're putting a video out against? I don't get it.
AI, am I hearing you right in saying, I'll start with the initial one, that to hide the creator, we have to have the heliocentric system in place versus the geocentric, because if it's geocentric, then there's a designer. And I put a quote up for Nathan the other day where that's exactly why they say they're doing it. But now, for people who have realized through other lies that this is also a lie, they also want to argue against the system of heliocentrism, but they don't necessarily want to attribute it to where it might lead them, which is the very thing heliocentrism was trying to lead you away from, which is a creator. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yes and no, because I don't accept the first premise that heliocentrism's purpose is to hide the fact of a creator for various reasons. One, because it's absolutely unsuccessful, and the majority of people simultaneously hold belief in some type of creator and a globe. And there's actually very eloquent and masterfully done poetry, I would call it, apologetics from major religions incorporating the majority of heliocentric rhetoric, mathematically beautiful, persuasive, etc. So it's not the case that people are automatically swayed away from a creator just because of heliocentrism. For example, you have the first cause fallacy, which most people worth their salt will always see and recognize that you need a transcendental cause for the universe, which, by the way, mainstream science is starting to admit now. And it's coming around full circle, and it gives you the effect. Yeah, it gives you the effect of two competing paradigms where they're trying to weasel you into a new paradigm. And so I would submit that they're not actually trying to hide a creator. They're trying to hide the specific nature of the creator. And so many people will pay homage by words saying, oh, I believe in a creator, I believe in a creator. But when you start getting down to specifics, they want to veer off the tracks. They want to start making videos bashing the Bible, or they want to, they want to just lose their shit, basically.
going to say Nathan covered that this morning in the pre-show a little bit. But I think we're saying the same thing, because you're right in that sense, because I've met many people who like a certain type of ceremonies, a certain way of doing things. So they go to certain religions who do it that way. And they would fall into the category of, yeah, I believe in the creator, but I like this way of talking about him. And then when you go down deep, you find out they don't even believe in the same creator. There's their cults, or they're deviating from
absolutely.
the Bible.
It's the difference between subjective and objective philosophy. So the majority of people want to live in a subjective world where things are mediated by their own wants, intentions, desires, and preferences. And when they're faced with a brick wall that the universe might be objective in nature and have an objective grounding, which has a sentient agent behind it, that changes the entire paradigm of your life, whether it's meaning, destiny, purpose, morality, etc. So while I said the mainstream is starting to lean towards a creator, they're not leaning towards it in the sense of an objective external agent creator. They're leaning towards it in the sense that the creator is part of the subjective universe. So there is no external agents. The universe is all encompassing in itself, which a lot of people, they hear that and they're like, oh, that sounds really appealing to me. I'm part of the universe. I'm part of God. God's the creator. I'm part of the creator. It's the big circle of creation.
Yeah, that's the new age. That's the new age where you're one with the universe. You are God.
Yeah, this rubbish where you're co-creating with the creator. You're not. Everything's already created. He doesn't need you to create.
Well, even in that sense, even in that sense, if you consider, but even in that sense, if you consider major philosophies of the past that proffer these ideas, like Berkeleyan idealism, which is the most prominent one, it's not so much that humans are creating as much as they are playing out within, a created system to where they are necessary for the final result to come about. It's kind of like when you play a video game, you do things in the game and you create unique experiences, but it's within the confines of the created game. You didn't actually truly create anything in that sense, but you did have like a lesser creative force within the realm.
Neither matter nor energy can be created or destroyed, because it's all within the game.
It's more like a rearranging force. We don't create, we basically rearrange what's already there.
Yeah, that's back to the joke about God. So man is having a little debate about whether or not God's actually necessary, given how smart they are and how they can definitely create life. God parts the clouds and says, all right, let's see you do it then. And the men go, yeah, no worries. They start gathering up a bit of dirt, and God goes, whoa, hang on a second. Get your own dirt.
Love it.
Exactly.
So in Minecraft, by example, with your video game, the guy who's recently somebody created a computer in Minecraft. Now, because of the limitations of Minecraft, to get the computer to actually show its functionality, they had to speed up Minecraft to get it to process something. But very cool, they could use the elements contained within Minecraft to create a computer. Very, very cool. But in so doing, does that mean that if they took that on many, many, many steps, they could say, oh, well, we can create life? And somebody goes, oh, okay, go on then. And they go into their Minecraft program. They go, whoa, what are you doing? So you need the Minecraft software. Wait, what? That's no good. That's not creating anything. Yes, you're creating it within the structures and confines of Minecraft, but get your own Minecraft if you're going to say you've created it and you can be capable of creation.
Right, which, by the way, is an excellent point to do some cross-promotion, which is Dr. James Tour, who our lovely, esteemed friend and colleague, Mr. Fake Professor, wanted to take on about certain endeavors by hiring people to speak on his behalf and write body copy for him so he could criticize Mr. Tor, because Mr. Tor is a scientist who also happens to believe in God, and he hates that, so he had to lampoon him. Concerning the nature of the origin of life, he's doing a series right now, which is talking about abiogenesis and all of that, and how Professor Dave, allegedly Professor Dave, is full of crap. So you should definitely go watch that. Subscribe to James Torr's channel. Mention that, you know, we don't like Professor Dave either, and see what comes of it.
We don't like. I don't care about Professor Dave to the point. I wouldn't put my hat on that hook. Sorry to be disagreeable, AI. I am indifferent to people like Professor Dave. I couldn't. I didn't give him a second thought. If someone said you don't like Professor Dave, I'd be like, no, I don't care.
Yeah, but that was irrelevant to the idea of cross promotion. That's just all I could think of at the time.
No,
you could write whatever you want. You could write,
fair enough.
You could write, you know, Professor Dave was on this debate where the host was laughing like a schoolgirl while he was committing fallacies against nice Mr. Dave, who's a flat earther. Dr. Tor, I feel your pain.
Right. Professor Dave, touting himself about Overlord in lots of spheres as some kind of purported expert. But if you look at it, he's getting the same level of critique that he got from us as flat earthers. People are basically spotting him. He's a bullshitter, basically, that's not got any qualifications and not read. And in all the fields he's turning up at, read the comments. They're calling him out.
He's a charlatan.
Go on, Nathan.
I said he's a charlatan.
He overplayed his hands. He's in too many subjects to be an expert in, and now everyone's realizing he's got a group of people feeding him information who are so-called experts in these subjects, and he's just a front man, a charlatan, exactly like Nathan.
The beautiful thing about that is you have segues of cross promotion that interlap, that are multiplied because he's in so many fields and getting critiqued by professionals in those fields who have a base of subscribers already. That was what I was going with that.
And this might be a worthwhile endeavor, because in one of those videos, I believe, I haven't watched the whole series, AI, but I did watch the first one, I believe. And in that one, Professor James Tor has bought into the heliocentric globe lie. So he is unaware of the lack of science for that viewpoint that he has adopted through his education system.
I think I've got a solution to the live stream lagging at the beginning. So what you can do is you can connect OBS to YouTube, but not go live, and then press the live button on YouTube itself rather than on OBS. So once it has the connection, I think what I'll do is I'll go to my Flat Earth's debate screen splash while you guys are still talking, press go live, and then when I see it actually connected to YouTube, then I'll mute all the lines, press live on YouTube, and then go. I think that will solve the problem.
Fantastic transition from the last point. Unbelievable.
There's an either or here. The alternative is that I have considered this as well. It's a little bit more messy, but also quite nice in the fact that it might end up being quite organic, which is to say that what I can do is just do it as I did it, which is go to the screen splash while you guys are talking, press live, but not mute you. And then your conversation will tail in to the live stream. And then when I see it on YouTube connected and live and I can see a picture, I then go to the screen splash and then run the intro. So there's a fair chance that we might get 5 seconds of your conversation and then the live stream starts. But I don't know if that's a little bit unprofessional. I don't know. I can't make up my mind. I'm pretty sure.
I like that better.
You have no idea what Neil says about you before he's recorded. Unbelievable.
That's why I like it better.
Oh, right. You want to hear you? No, I can't do it if I immediately know that you're going to abuse it.
He's just being
that's
Neil.
not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. I think it would just be, like you said, a little more organic. We're in conversation, bam. Show.
You're all being sucked in. He's taking you away from a very valid topic to talk about some computer, the live show.
I told
issue.
you.
And now he's going to try and round out.
I'm telling you, the transition. The transition was terrible.
During this 3 hours, I did nip out, right? actually out of the building. And while I did that, the show was live, recording, and they even had my kid playing a game, and I didn't care. In other words, while you're like, yeah, he wants to talk about his computing, no, I don't. I even mentioned to my wife, she's like, can I vacuum? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. She's like, are you not live? I'm like, well, actually I am, but I'm just not stressed. I'm not sat here permanently glued to temperature gauges, basically. I looked at it and went, everything running normal. Yeah, there's no reason why I can't pop out for 5 minutes. No one's going to know. I'm sure you all noticed, but you know what I mean? It didn't matter. The computer didn't sound fire. So I don't care now. It's like running to the point where I can literally leave it live and not care. Not that I do that very often, but I'm just saying.
Nathan, that's the problem. You were the knower. You were causing it.
I wasn't causing the computer to overheat. A cooler not being attached was.
Come on, laugh
now
at
I don't
that
care.
one.
Is my point. I'm happy.
Yeah, now it's not being. It's left alone, and there's no wave function collapse because you don't care.
Let's put it this way, right? Instead of it being the computer that was causing me months of issues, if it was the monitor, right? It wouldn't mean that I'm suddenly into monitors if every other day I'm talking about the monitor, you know, and how it's not functioning properly and how it's causing me issues, you know. And in the same way, I never mention the monitor because I don't care about it. It does what it's supposed to do, and therefore it never gets a second thought. And the same principle, I hope, will now apply to this bloody computer, which is I want to care about the screens and what are on them, which is you, and what you're saying and how you look to an audience. That's what I want to concern myself with, not whether or not the hardware is going to fail. I don't want to care about the hardware. I mean, I do, because I want it to work, but beyond that, I don't want to care when the show's running.
Oh my gosh. You had a perfect chance to display that by realizing what I was doing with my words, but you went right back to the computer.
Well, I would like to go to back to what you were talking about, the wave function. Does anyone think that wave function collapse is a phenomenon?
Wave function collapse is the phenomenon that's being studied in terms of the light diffraction pattern that they studied on the path of science that is the study of light. So when you say it's not a phenomena, it is what they're studying based on what they've discovered with light and how it behaves. So yes.
No, diffraction's the...
Hold on, I want to write this out. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. Go ahead, John.
Diffraction is the phenomenon, which we describe mathematically with the wave function. Right? The phenomenon.
No.
It's like water boiling. Is water not boiling a phenomenon?
No. The phenomenon they're studying is wave function collapse.
So why would no diffraction be a phenomenon?
No, the transition.
It wouldn't be.
The transition from one to the other.
Right. So when my water stops boiling, is that a phenomenon?
No. When you get diffraction, and then it's not diffraction, that's something occurring.
Right. When you have boiling and it's not boiling, that's something occurring.
When it goes from one to the other, something's occurring.
Right. So my water's boiling. No, it's not. Something's occurring.
Entropy.
Hold on. Are you saying that when water is in a state of being boiling, that's a concrete noun? Is that what you're suggesting?
No. What I'm saying is phenomenon is diffraction. Now, whether you can cause that phenomenon to stop happening isn't a phenomenon in itself. You're just stopping a phenomenon.
I kind of see what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean,
no, that makes sense.
It's not a phenomenon.
I got you. No, in the same way, it sounds, if phrased badly, like you're testing the null when you talk about the cause of scurvy. Because in a similar vein, it's the lack of something that's causing something to happen, and you're trying to make it not happen. And in this instance, you're saying what you're trying to actually do is make diffraction, the phenomena, which I will concede at this point, you are right, I am wrong, not happen, like not get scurvy. So I see where you're going. That means I am going to have to rephrase some of the things I say. So bastard. But yes, you are absolutely correct. You are correct.
That's the only reason I came today, because I listened to a show from the other day, and y'all were talking about wave function collapse as the phenomenon.
I concede. I was wrong. You are correct. I'm glad of the correction. Thank you. Because yes, that is badly phrased. Now you've put it the way you've put it. Yes, I'm phrasing it extremely badly, and thank you.
But that's where you open up the door for a mathematical description, you know, to worm its way in to being something it's not. And that's where a lot of confusion came, I think, the other day when you all were talking about it.
I just want to would the pattern changing be the phenomenon? Like you either get an interference pattern or you don't. The wave function is just a description of it.
No, I even said it myself. The wave function collapse, right, is the normality. I've even, because I do understand it, I've still managed to be able to weasel my way out of this if I wanted to. I'm not saying this so I can weasel out of my bad phrasing of this, because John's still absolutely correct. You know, I'm not going to have to make any retractions. I just have to change how I phrase it. But no, it's going on. Is that AI? AI, can you pop yourself on mute? Sorry, what was your last point, Chocolate? I've completely lost track. I was disagreeing with you, so I should really know.
No, I sorry. I was saying that isn't the phenomenon is either seeing the pattern change, right? You either get an interference pattern or you don't.
No, that's incorrect. That's what John's trying to get at. He's saying what's the phenomena they're studying? They're studying diffraction. Light diffracting is the phenomena. So if you're to say wave function collapse is the phenomena, no. What we see in normality, we don't typically see diffraction. Light just presenting itself. In other words, if you shine, instead of making it complicated and talking about it going through a slit, if I say I shine a torch through a keyhole, I do expect to just see the light on the other side of the keyhole hit the wall. That's the norm. But that's what you achieve when mathematically you describe the process of going from the phenomena you're studying, which is the diffraction of light, to non-diffraction, it not being diffracted anymore, right? That's the process. But then you're going from the phenomena to normality, right? And you can cause that process to take place in the same way you can validate the lack of vitamin C as the cause of scurvy. So it sounds a bit convoluted because you're trying to study the negative and get the not the non-cause, but the, what's the wording? Maybe John, you can help me out here because this is your point. Well, all that matters is John's right. The phenomena's diffraction. That is correct.
Right, but by allowing someone to claim wave function collapse is the phenomenon, then they can put normality into the phenomenon. And you're in a whole cage of insanity at that moment. You're not going to be able to reasonably discuss anything because you've stepped through the mirror at that point.
No, you are correct.
Why is it relevant whether it's normal or not normal?
The phenomena, there's no such thing as wave function collapse.
Correct.
So to try and reify that as the phenomena is the first issue. You've got the data, yeah, and you've got the change in which the data presents itself, where the photographic plate hits. That's the next step from the initial phenomena of refraction. You can then go forward within the science and science this bit. Why is this occurring? Why are we getting different ways of deposition on the plate? If we take it to a mathematical description and try to reify that as the phenomenon, that's where we get a problem. But if we keep it just in terms of the patterns on the plate, that keeps you focused on what the phenomena actually is.
Well, the thing is, like, if I take it and say wave function collapse is now the phenomenon, right? I put normality into the science, like just what we experience. Like, there is no phenomenon.
Wave function. No, you've reified the wave function fundamentally by describing it. Like
yes. Then call it diffraction collapse, because that is it, right? The wave function is just a description
They're all
of
the same
the
thing.
diffraction.
It's all the same thing. Diffraction, interference. It's all the same thing.
I have the same
Thank you.
question, I
Just
think,
a
as AI did. What's the
please.
normality thing? I'm confused a little bit.
Well, let's use water boiling, right? So I have water boiling. I'm studying water boiling as my phenomenon, right?
Right.
Now, water stops boiling, and I call that the phenomenon. And I start talking about this new phenomenon that's got a new cause.
Sublimation.
I've got it. I've got it. Let me try this.
So
Let me try this. Let me try
within-
this. Let me give the example. So when in the example of water boiling, we say a hot spring, right? Well, if you come across a hot spring boiling, that is a phenomena. Something's occurring. But when we then move over in our sloppy way that we're going to have to now address to the experimental setup of applying heat to make water boil, right? You've induced the effect. But what would be more akin to the phenomena when it comes to wave function collapse in the description of the apparatus would be to remove heat from the hot spring and stop it boiling. Because then you've established that, well, you know, digging a chunk of the world out and moving it to a different part of the world didn't stop it boiling if you took enough of the chunk or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the various other things that you might vary as farcical as that one was. What is actually happening when you stop the hot spring boiling is you're removing heat. But that isn't actually what's described in the experimental setup, is it? So there's a reversing of it, but it doesn't make any difference whether or not you're stopping it from happening, therefore you know the cause, or you've caused it to happen. So long as the thing that's varied is the same exact thing, which it will be.
John?
I mean, I get that.
Quick question.
Water going from not boiling to boiling is a phenomenon. Just the same way going from boiling to not boiling would be a phenomenon, but there's only one of those phenomena that you're trying to cause.
What?
Right?
No.
That's it.
That's wrong as well.
No,
that's incorrect. I just want to correct Chocolate. I'm sorry, Adam. No. Water boiling is the phenomena. Whereas you're now saying you're taking it back a step from what John's just hopefully achieved or was trying to, which is to say that talking about the process isn't the phenomena that you're studying. Water actually being in the state of boiling, that's something happening. That alone. So inducing it or stopping it, regardless, you're going to have the same causal link to what has made it happen or stops it happening or induces it happening from it not happening at the start. But either way, the process from one to the other isn't necessarily the phenomena that you're studying. In this case, water boiling is a good example because no, just having water being boiling is the phenomena.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is also is if you go on the phenomenon of a phenomenon kind of deal like that, you're into concrete noun.
Can I give an analogy with your water boiling?
Yes, sir. Sorry.
Within the water boiling, you've got liquid water evaporating and turning into steam, and that's why we look at that and we know what's going on now. If we've got that in great detail and we start to understand it, and then suddenly we come across solids sublimating into a steam. It's within that same field, but it's a separate nuance within this area we're discovering. So to me it's a similar step. We can just start to look at it. It's hard to equate because this is a quantum effect. It's not a physical effect directly in terms of what we're observing. But if you're trying to equate it, to me, I'd say it's something like that. It's a recognition that things can sublimate as well as evaporate. And wow, how, why? Because that's like opposed to what we first thought. In a way, you've got to go through the stages to get the energy levels to get there. But with further studying of phase transition, we've got that information, and we're using that initial phenomena as our starting point. Still within the natural world.
Go on, Humble. Go ahead, ask your question.
Thank God, but I'm so happy I heard this. I left home, left all my notes I was going to be referring, but it's so good to have John back because I'm telling you, this has been my question. are we even having this conversation if someone hadn't looked at something and then took a piece of paper and started writing down figures? Do we even have, like, is the wave function even invented without that taking place?
Oh my goodness, dude. Humble. What is a wave function in regards to the quantum eraser experiment?
No, please. I'm saying the words are being used in this discussion. Wave function, right?
What is
It's
it?
being used in discussion. It to me right now doesn't matter. I'm saying, do we even have a discussion about something? But I'm not sure. Maybe I'll have to bend to John. Because I think he's
we're
onto
talking about wave
something that I've
function.
been trying to.
Humble.
We're trying to parse
just for a
this out.
second,
We're
Humble.
asking what it is.
Humble.
I
don't
did
think you've
not
been listening.
introduce it into the discussion.
Humble.
Sorry?
If you've been listening to what we're saying, the words wave function have been used, but we've been implicitly ruling it out as just a convention made up that we make up from the data. Okay? So it's not being brought back up to use, it's been brought up to rule out as a way of viewing it, as a way of trying to be classified as a phenomenon. It's not. We've moved on from that.
Let's start getting more precise. What is the data of? The data points, where'd they come from? What are they? Are they how many girls are in the swimming pool at 12 o'clock? What are they? What's the data
It's the points of impact on the photographic plate.
Yes.
Okay, so they're a description of the points of impact. So the collapse is that the positions of the points of impact change. That's a phenomenon.
Please, but here's
the end. I rest my case.
Hold on. So the water stops boiling. That's the phenomenon.
Dude, they're not. Look, they're not logically analogous. I could demonstrate, but I'm way too busy.
Oh, I'm sure.
But this is what I was saying. Look, to be fair, this is what I was saying before in shows ago, where we've been talking about the same thing so much over and over again that we're starting to make cheesy errors. To be fair.
No, I agree.
Cheesy error. That's
it is a cheesy error. It's my fault. It's my bad, right? And I'll accept admission for it. I'm convoluting the phenomena with the process, and you only know the process if you've discovered the cause. But I've then taken that with essentially hindsight, knowledge after the fact, and then change what is actually the phenomena into the process, which has only been discovered through the experimental process. So that's my fault. I need to be more careful, because the dependent variable is diffraction, the interference that the light experiences. So for the benefit of Humble, I used an example earlier with one keyhole. When you shine a light through a keyhole, you just expect the light to be on the other side, directly behind the keyhole. That's how light behaves. Yeah? Well, now imagine you've got two keyholes. You shine a torch through two keyholes. Well, what you'd expect to see on the other side of the keyholes is 2 points of light, one behind one keyhole and one behind the other. Yeah? That's, in essence, wave function collapse. What's happened? Nothing. Just 2 points of light behind two keyholes. So nothing's actually occurred, does it? And that's what John's point is. You're talking about just the normality. I've even qualified it in some of the descriptions and gone, well, no, that's the normal state of play. We don't typically see the actual phenomena, which is the diffraction. We normally see light just behaving as you expect it. Light goes through keyhole, hits on the other side behind the keyhole. Now, the phenomena is light goes through keyhole, and instead of being behind the keyhole, it flies off to the left, or it flies off to the right, or it's seemingly randomly hitting points that aren't behind the keyhole. It's hitting in different points. Now that's light diffraction, otherwise known as interference. That is to say, instead of your light going through the keyhole and hitting behind on the wall behind the keyhole, something's interfering with it. It's going off left and right and every which way. Now, when it's doing that, your phenomena, light diffraction, you can study where it hits and what likelihood the light will hit at one of those points, the random points that aren't directly behind the keyhole. Not behaving as you expect, doing something, that's a phenomena, yeah, that's unexpected, that you want to know why, right? Why is it doing that? That's the whole point of the process. But doing that has been described with maths as probability distribution. So when I say instead of the light going through the keyhole and hitting behind on the wall, it goes through the keyhole and flies off to the left. What is the likelihood that the next bit of light that comes through the keyhole will also go through and hit off to the left, or off to the right, or slightly off to the left, or slightly off to the right, or actually directly behind as you would expect? That's a probability distribution. Most likely to hit here, bit less likely to hit over here. Do you see how that's a mathematical term for something that is actually happening? In this case, the phenomena of diffraction, my correction, which will remain consistent moving forward. Thanks, John.
To be fair, he's not as right as you think he is at the moment. It'll be critiqued in the future.
I'm sorry.
Okay, good. Good, because it means we're talking about it with a slight air of contention, which means that we'll keep ourselves frosty.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, also, like, where did the term interference pattern come from?
Interference pattern?
Now, I gave Mr. Humble H some homework to do. The probability function of him actually having done it, even though I talked to him on 2 occasions about this when he asked about questions about this topic, and I gave him these specific things to look at. The probability is 99% that he did not do it.
Yeah,
so
Humble. Yeah, Humble.
Did you do it or not?
Well, I would like to go back to my wife.
Excuse me, you're not Humble.
Instead of picking on Humble.
You're not picking on him. Well, I am.
No, I'm picking on him because 2 times in the past it didn't occur, and now it's the 3rd time, so that's 2 out of 3 probability.
Sorry.
You're breaking up, Humble. But I do like how you turned the likelihood of him studying into a probability distribution. That was very well done, AI. Kudos.
Okay.
Well, the reason it's important.
Hold on, Humble. You're breaking up. Can you drop and rejoin? Because we can't make out what you're saying. Go ahead, John.
The reason I brought it up, and Adam talked about it, is the reification process that it allows to take place. And it's where you turn the verb into the noun, right? And if you're talking about the phenomenon, which is the something happening of something happening, it's a linguistic trick, right? If I want to talk about jogging without a jogger, like what is that? So I turn the jogger into jogging, and I think that's what that opens up when you forget what your phenomenon is.
You're not quite correct. I'll have to think about it more. I know you're incorrect, but I can't articulate it properly right now.
I do see where he's going with this. He's saying if you use jogging as the comparison, right? The end bit when the guy's in the stride, one after the next, that's jogging. But if you then turn, well, you know, he gets out of bed, puts on his trainers, you know, gets into the swing of warming up, then as he puts his foot forward, and that whole process, that's jogging. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the end of it, you've got jogging. Likewise, when you heat up the water, right? That's it going from a normal state to a different from the actual phenomena you're studying. But the in-between bit, as John's saying, it leaves it open for a reification. And in the case of wave function, which is something that Humble's been driving at for a while, you've got the opportunity to introduce the mathematical into the physical just because of the phrasing or the bad phrasing that we're using in this regard. I hope it does get brought up again, but I think John's definitely hit on a really interesting point.
Well, a lot of the confusion of the other day, I think, centered around this, and Adam was trying to point out that there's a reification happening, but that's how it happens. Is when you take that description of a phenomenon and turn it into a phenomenon when it doesn't happen.
Yep, perfect. So let me ask you the question. Where's the term interference pattern come from?
I don't know about interference
Why did
pattern.
they term it that?
Do you mean diffraction pattern? Because interference is just interference, and then there's diffraction. And then there's the pattern that you can derive from it, which is the wave function. So there's kind of... Did you say diffraction pattern? I don't know if that's I mean, it might be a term, but it's just not...
All right, the term
well.
before the wave function collapse, the distribution, the effect on the plate is referred to, or has been referred to in the past, as an interference pattern.
Okay.
Where'd that come from?
I have to.
Hold on a sec.
I have to throw a fox into the chicken.
Hold on. I want to clarify this question. When you say where does it come from, do you mean in physical terms? Where do you get the points of light occurring on the photographic plate? How is that process occurring? Is that what you mean when you say where does it come from?
No, I mean why is it named an interference pattern?
Because there's...
May I?
Yeah, go.
May I ask? I just want to know, is the noun interference pattern, is that the phenomenon you're talking about?
Why would a word be a phenomenon? That's incoherent.
It's not. That's right. It's incoherent.
The phenomenon is the interference.
Right. So we have to start talking about the practical applications and the practical effects and the practical results that are tangible in the physical world.
But the practical effect
and what
is light having interference, like beyond the expected. So when you shine your light through the keyhole in my example, you expect it to go through and hit the other side. It doesn't. It goes off in all which ways. That's the thing that's happening. That's the thing you're studying. That's interference, otherwise known as what you call an interference pattern. The pattern of the light and where it goes would be the pattern. The interference, i.e. light not behaving as you expect, that's something happening, aka a phenomenon.
All right, interesting.
You should all...
So nobody knows the answer?
Hang on. None of you are at the source. You need to define diffraction and speak about when it was first discovered.
Do you know the answer, brother?
That's the phenomenon.
Diffraction is interference. That's all it is.
Nathan described it when he said it. It seems like light is going in all directions.
All right, so we're going to rest. I'm going to rest and go back to work on None of You Know. So we'll find out next time.
What don't we know? Where diffraction pattern came from. The term diffraction pattern.
That wasn't the question I asked. Anyway, my hands are freezing, so I got to go inside.
Okay.
Peace for today, war for tomorrow.
Okay. I hope this develops into something else interesting. This has certainly been fascinating.
Right, but the point I was trying to...
Yeah, everybody go do the homework I gave Humble, and you might be enlightened.
Oh, goodness.
I can't remember what you said.
What about the definition of diffraction, the actual phenomenon?
We just got the ambulances from AI now. Can you mute?
I'm trying to disconnect. You can kick me if you want. I can't disconnect.
Let me out. How do I escape? Trapped here with the ambulances.
No, I can't even see my screen.
AI had a pun. AI ended it with a pun, and he wanted to hear something about it. Enlighten.
Ah, boom, boom. Still got the ambulances. I'll have to close that line. We'll wait till AI goes on mute and then I'll open the Discord.
Well, was that a siren or was that serene? I don't know at this point.
No, that's definitely a siren.
Now, if that was me that had a siren going, I'd be getting screamed at.
And?
You can't scream at an AI.
Shut up, Neil!
Okay, well, let me try it again because like the line of logic got broken. But say I turn the water off in the experiment, right? I turn off the heat and the water stops boiling. I can now call that a phenomenon of Bouligast, right? The Bouligast is happening. You can't deny that the water's stopped boiling, right?
Right.
So Bouligast the phenomenon of Bouligast, it leads us to this liquid. Look at this liquid. That's the end of the process.
I've got you. It's the same as me asking. I shine a light through the two keyholes, and it does hit at 2 points behind the keyholes. And I go, check it out. Why is that happening? Well, there's nothing happening. There's no phenomena. It's just behaving exactly as you expect. Right?
Right. Yeah. And it's a part of language where we try to communicate ideas, that it's so easy to fall into that trap. And that's why it's so hard to communicate concepts between people. And like when you talk to people on the streets about flat Earth, that they're not going to get it. Because language is not perfect.
And people like to remain ignorant in their language. So I'll give you an example. In the debate I recently did with Earth Chronicles, at the start of the debate, the host, David character, said, we don't want to get into like the wrangle-dangle of the exact meanings of words and stuff. If someone says just something wrong, we don't want to dwell on it. Or something like that. In other words, he doesn't want to exercise the Socratic method in the debate, which is exactly and pretty much the primary purpose of what we do here. Words are important, they have meaning. But when you're ignorant of a subject, you'd rather say, you know what, it'd be really useful if the stupid nonsense that comes out of my mouth isn't actually critiqued based on what the words actually mean. Would that be okay with you?
Right. And I guess it's a failing in people, and we see it all. We used to see it all the time before the debate ended, because it's over now. It's just kind of eating popcorn and laughing at people at this point. But you could see
it makes me lose faith in humanity, if I'm honest. Like today with that Connor Pugs guy. I mean, it's almost like paid government officials are paid to govern us. I mean, you'd have to pay them to govern us. I mean, I'm paraphrasing what he actually said in what it meant, but that's essentially what he was doing, right? Just idiotic. You can't quite believe that people don't literally understand the very word that they've used and are contradicting the word that they've used by saying it can't possibly mean the very literal definition of the word I've just used. In that case, government. You're like, oh God, how stupid are you? Learn what the words you're using mean. If you don't know what a word means, don't say it.
Right. And that was something I've drilled into my kids about language. You need to know, because really meaning and words having meaning is the only thing that can hold power to account. And the minute you give that up, there's no hope left. And people have just given it up.
Well, they're not only giving it up, it's worse. They're fighting to have that ability. So if you take someone like Craig, Fight the Flat Earth, he wants words to have different meanings. And even if his authority figures will tell him, no, not a force. Well, no, I want to dissolve the Socratic method to the point where the words are meaningless. Or ruhif. Well, the definitions of words are meaningless. End quote. Without the swearing. Paraphrase without the swearing. I shouldn't say end quote. Anyway, the point is that they don't want words to have defined meanings because that's very, what's the word? Restricting. It's like, yeah, it is. Yeah, that's unfortunate. You can be held to task on the words that you use because they have meanings. So it doesn't mean that
Nathan,
suddenly we should give up the ability to define what words mean because it's much easier. Yeah, that's how you end up with, what was that, the movie about the dumbed down people? Oh, I forgot the name of it.
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. That's how you end up with that.
Nathan, will you please define my next words? Law of non-contradiction. Violation of it.
Well, A can't both equal B and not equal B at the same time. How's that?
Good. So words do have meanings. We have language. This is what I think everyone is referring to when they say Socratic method, using a language. whether you're speaking French, the other guy better be speaking French. If you're two Germans are talking, then it's Germanic. If it's English, it's English. But then if you're going to use the word ball, the context defines the word ball, whether you're going to a dance or a ball game, or you're referencing a sphere of the earth. So the violation of the law of non-contradiction is very important, and having precise meanings to words are very important. Or what's the purpose of a debate at the end? To have a clear winner over a point that's being debated. But if words can mean anything, you'll never have that clear winner.
Yeah, in politics, you've got a process of spin doctoring and redefining and repositioning things that people have said to mean something that they haven't said. You know, that's a whole process. It's a skill. It's something that people are paid to do for the people who represent us. Spin their words. Yeah? You know, you can reference this in a dumbed down way if you just read 1984, when they tell them about the art of doublethink. That's all it is. Getting you to be able to accept something that's been told to you for the period of time that you're told that you should accept it, until something contradicts it. Then you accept that the contradiction works with the original statement. That's what you're being trained to do when you listen to a politician. But yeah,
what was the?
Yeah, but yeah, it's a stretch. Oh, nearly done. Yeah, it's a stretch for someone like Connor Puggs to imagine that the people who govern us and are paid to govern us would use such processes. Yeah, it'll be on the front page of every newspaper when someone gets caught out in a bad example of it. It just beggars belief that people are so stupid.
What was the quote from 1984 about the mathematicians? I love that one.
Well, it's when he's being tortured, and the torturer's his mate basically says it's not beyond our mathematicians to make the stars close or make them far away. No, they could be either. If we say that they're close, that's all that matters. If we say that they're far away because the mathematicians can say it, then they're far away.
What would that dialogue, why would that dialogue belong while someone's being tortured?
Because he needs to understand how that is supposed to be the way of things. Understand how if I tell you that you're holding up 3 fingers when you've got 5 held up, that's 3 fingers because I said so. And if you don't understand that's how the world works, then you need torturing till you do.
Is that why we have such pushback?
Well, that and the statement's true from what I've seen of celestial navigation. They can assume they're close or far away mathematically.
We are at the cutting edge.
And with that, I'm going to say another massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making this members only, well, tail end of the show at least, live stream possible, and of course making the after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the members only live stream, or if you're watching this after the fact on the Uncut and After Show, for tuning in, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member if you wanted to see these members' streams in advance of when they go out with the after show. So become a member if you want to do that. So a massive thank you to all who have done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!